Welcome, one and all, to SkepTalk, the show where skeptics talk. I'm your host, Forrest Valkai, and I'm joined today by the ScientificSnitch, straight from TikTok and Instagram, all the way over here to our weird little backwater show. How are you?
Hello. How are I was just about to say how are you, even though you just asked that. I'm doing I'm doing good, just a little bit mentally exhausted from school, but doing fantastic.
No, I hear that. I absolutely understand. It's been a semester, y'all, and no one's happy about it, and it is what it is. But we're here regardless. The horrors persist, and so do we. Today, we've got a great show for everybody, because it is yet another biology talk. Would you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell them your background, your qualifications, what you do for a living, or whatever else you think might be relevant to the conversations at hand?
Sure. So my name's Ella. I am an early career scientist. I did my undergrad over at UMich, and I'm currently, and oh man, that's my Discord. I'm just going to quit out of And I'm currently pursuing my master's degree in physiology. And just for the university's sake, since I work there, everything I say is my own opinion and mine alone. And I did research in, well, I started off in a lab that was studying metabolism, and that's where I first got introduced to science. And then from there, I worked in a cardiovascular laboratory for a few years. And now I'm working on some cachexia research, which is very fun.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I discovered your content on the TikToks. There was that, of course, person pushing MLM pills and supplements and whatnot, trying to tell everybody that germ theory wasn't real. And your takedown of that video was so thorough and so incredibly well sourced for something that could have been so silly. Like my response to the video was just making fun of the person's silly beliefs and pointing out that anyone who says this is always trying to sell supplements, and indeed they were. You took it like 30 levels beyond that and showed like such a detailed background of like how we know germs are a thing and how everything this person was saying was so ridiculous. So like I immediately became a fan after that. Been loving your content ever since. And today I'm hoping we can lean into that a little bit more, because on this channel we do usually take atheist calls, but more and more, we've been leaning into taking calls from MAGA cultists, from people who are avid Trump supporters and lovers of the regime. And a big part of that is RFK Jr.'s Maha movement, this idea that we're going to make America healthy again by limiting research, restricting biomedical sciences, killing any kind of diversity in actual science and the endeavor of learning more about the human body, but also bringing back beef tallow and talking weirdly about seed oils and food dyes and trying to do the same sorts of things that Michelle Obama did a little while ago. And those were wrong then, but right now. It's been a weird time. And so we have an anti-vax lunatic who doesn't know how to read a scientific paper serving as our health secretary under a president who simply does not know how to read anything. And I hope to talk to some people who think that anything these folks are doing is good or useful. The number on the bottom of the screen is 720-619-2288. If you want to talk to an integrative biologist and a physiologist, people who know a thing or two about health and the human body and what all these jargony, silly words mean, this is your chance. Pick up that phone, or if you're outside of the U.S., use the web link in the description to talk to people who know what they're talking about and have, hopefully, a pleasant conversation about health, about science, and also other kinds of science that we do talk about a lot on this show. Opening the phone to creationists if you don't believe in evolution. Opening the phone to transphobes if you don't believe in the difference between sex and gender. Opening the phone to flat earthers, anti-vaxxers. You want to talk about chemtrails and Bigfoots, this is the show for you. And of course, if you happen to believe in gods or demons or devils, or that the Bible is the good book, this is also your chance to put your faith to the test. Ella, what kind of calls in particular are you hoping to get today? While we wait for a few more to roll in. We've already got a couple, but while we wait for the lines to fill up, who are you most excited to talk to?
I'm down to talk about pretty much anything. I am actually particularly excited to talk anything about like abiogenesis or as it pertains to seed oils and raw milk. But the abiogenesis talk, like that specific topic has been particularly interesting since the drop of that one self-complementary replication of that ribozyme, if
Hmm.
you've seen that paper. It's very
I
new.
I only know the last time I focused on any of this was the one with the oligoribonucleotides a couple of years ago with the mineral mediated polymerization. If this is a new thing, I haven't heard of it.
Oh, it is extremely interesting. So apparently, recently there has been a small polymerase ribozyme that can synthesize itself and its complementary strand that was discovered on accident. And this paper was published in Science. So it's a
Hmm.
very interesting article. But there's like also other stuff too that is like it's just everything seems to have dropped in 2025 on
Hmm.
abiogenesis, and there's so much literature. It's amazing.
Hell yeah! I always just refer people like over to like the Astrobio primer. You know what I mean from NASA. Like I give that to people, and like I don't get into much details unless I have to beyond that because it's a little bit outside of my area. But like I'm definitely checking that. If you have a link to the PDF and you want to throw it in either the Discord and I'll put it in the chat, or if you want to put it in the chat yourself, I don't know if they'll let you post links, but I would be down to share that with everybody because that's crazy cool. By the way, to the person in chat, um, oh, here we go. Oh, it's in the. You put it in the God the Zoom thing.
Sorry, I don't know where can I see the live chat?
Damn you.
Oh,
Yeah. So we have the live chat on YouTube. If you just you can pull that up, or I recommend keeping the Discord open as well and just silencing it because that way we can also talk behind the scenes and like, hey, this person sure is a person. I just popped that into the chat there so everybody can take a look at that. I'm definitely be reading that shit later on. That sounds amazing. And to the person in chat who was talking about oligoribonucleotides, yeah, so oligo means like a small collection of things. And then ribonucleotides, we're talking about RNA, pieces of RNA. So short chains, short sequences of RNA is an oligoribonucleotide. And there was a few years ago, the last time that I was paying very much attention to modern literature was when that was actually that's not true, but when that was starting to we were finding like interactions with like common minerals were allowing this to happen. And then a little while after that,
Short sequences of
the
our
oh
my
god,
bad.
it's okay. A little while after that, there was a thing about where they were finding and making the little oh, I forgot what they called them. The little micelles that were able to self-replicate. These little bundles of phospholipids,
Oh,
basically
they
the things that are your cell membranes, and they were able to make these little bundles. And then they, number one, did the normal shaping and everything that they do in normal cells abiotically, which that made sense. That was predictable. But then they started like launching off little parts of themselves and reproducing and experiencing a kind of natural selection with which functions and which systems worked better. It was radical. So like it's crazy cool how much we've found out in the past couple of years.
By the way,
And
on that
yeah,
topic, I just wanted to also, this was the study, this is like one of my favorite studies. I have no idea how to talk inside of a YouTube chat. But I'm so sorry.
just put it in the
I like,
Discord.
oh, I'm sorry. I really suck with technology. I can code in SAS and R, but I can't do anything when it comes to
No,
technology.
it's fine. I've
Um,
got it. I'm putting it in the chat.
But it's called chemiosmotic ATP synthesis by minimal protocells. So not only can your protocells divide based off of what you just told us, and not only have we found an self-replicating ribozyme, but these minimal protocells can also make ATP. Like that's crazy.
Which is the one? This is the one that I was talking about. I think here. Up, 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 up. This is. Let me double check to make sure this is the right one. Nope. 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 Here's the other protocell paper that I was looking at. This is not the one I was talking about. It's just the one that came up first. It was the concomitant formation of protocells and prebiotic compounds under a plausible early Earth atmosphere.
Oh,
Just a
I have that in
random.
my doc. Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah,
that one.
yeah. Yeah.
That was such a good paper.
Anyway, that's just the first one that came up when I was typing, because I was looking for another one. I was looking for the one about the micelles, but I can't fucking find it. But it's just because I'm not paying very good attention. Self-replicating micelles. Let's see if I can. Here we go. Is it this one? Yeah. Self-reproduction is an autonomous process of growth and reorganization of fully abiotic artificial synthetic cells. Let me see. I can tell. I don't remember. Yeah, this is the one. I just see that first figure and it looks so familiar. So that one's now also in the chat as well. So there's a little lit review for everybody in the chat who wants to have some fun and dig into some neat modern abiogenesis research. That last paper that I just put is the last time I paid attention. And then since then I've been talking about hormones way too freaking much for the past little while. That's what I'm digging into. And God, it's weird. Hormones, y'all. Just don't. With that, we've got a great show for everybody tonight. We already have a few calls coming in right now, and looks like the first one who's been waiting the longest. We usually don't start with atheists, but this is an easy way to do so. We're going to start with Brennan, who's an atheist calling in right here from my state of Oklahoma, who wants to talk about mind-body dualism. Brennan, you are on line with Forrest and Ella. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Never had a bad day.
Well, my claim is simple. I think that there are, well, maybe it's not simple. I think there are two beings or entities, I guess, in the mind, and we're nose blind to the presence of the second one. I think there's like evidence supported, not just a claim for this, with the split brain experiments where you've got one part of the brain which is able to communicate vocally and another one we're able to communicate rudimentally with via writing. And my essential claim boils down to the mind being a construct of the brain, part of the part of you that is you, in control of the meat suit, I guess, and then the rest of it.
Okay. So my question immediately would be, if we are nose blind, as you said, that's a great analogy, but like, if we're nose blind to this thing, then how do we know that it exists? How can we test for it and know that it's real?
I'm glad that you asked. I think that this is the fundamental claim that religious people make. Spiritualism, the presence of another being, the feeling that there's another person with you. It's in essence, there's a Tibetan spiritual idea of tulpa or tulpa. I think essentially people's idea of Jesus or God in general is like a tulpa of their own mind that they're applying personhood to in this sense. I think that children and their imaginary friends are probably a good way that you could point towards the fact that there feels as though there's another presence normally, and then when you become nose blind to it, in the same sense that your eyes flip the image that you're seeing unconsciously, I think it's possible to become unconsciously or unaware of something else being present in your mind. And I think that, there are I don't know if it was a study or if it was done as like a medical practice, but when people were given psilocybin to help with depression and anxiety, they described these experiences as religious in nature, which makes sense if we're functioning from a framework where we feel like being in the presence of another being in our own mind is religious.
So
Okay.
the only problem that I see here is that you're associating the feeling that there is two consciousnesses with like having an external conscious that is not dependent on the brain. When you were referring to the split brain experiments, you do realize that this depends on the fact that you have a brain. Just because you perceive two consciousness or consciousnesses, I don't know the plural for it, but
Conscious nigh.
conscious nine.
Yeah.
But just because you perceive two doesn't mean you actually like have two brains or two people. So, and then you also like brought up psilocybin, which is technically a hallucinogen. So like we've actually used psilocybin to replicate things like, for example, near-death experience type hallucinations. And so like I think it's really important to recognize that these things are dependent on the brain. Without the brain's receptors for psilocybin to convert into to convert into the active drug and then act on those receptors, you don't have the actual hallucination that is associated with psilocybin. Without, for example, specific connections in your brain, you don't have the split brain and the sense that you have to consciousness. So I think that's the main issue, is that you're trying to separate the brain and consciousness when there is no individual that is conscious without.
Okay. And I understand the point that you're trying to get across. I may have not expressed it clearly, but I do think that I have a way of addressing this cleanly. Even disregarding the idea that it's possible for someone to experience, or what they claim to be, which is experiencing another.
Whoa, there are so many people. What's going on?
Yeah. Sorry, we're having a little bit of an audio glitch where we're also hearing our call screener in the background. Sorry, that's our fault. We'll get that fixed here, because I don't know if the audience is hearing that, but no, it's totally cool. Just a button got pushed weirdly. Go ahead, Brendan, if you wouldn't mind restating what you just said. There was just a little mess up there with our wires getting crossed.
Yeah, of course. In the case that we disregard psilocybin and the point that I was making with that, I think that it does provide the idea that I'm intending to get across. We hear from religious people that they will experience, for lack of a better way to put it, peak events when they're surrounded by lots of noise and other people, and very emotional moments where they're flooded with like very overstimulating amounts of feel-good chemicals. So much so to the point that they feel the presence of, in their mind, Jesus around them. And, you know, as an atheist, I don't come from the point of view where I'm assuming that the experiences I have are religious in nature. And I've heard Matt Dillahunty and other hosts on the show talking about how they receive this same feeling that they would have got in a religious context, but instead during live music shows or other events, which I would probably say are also quite overstimulating. What I'm positing, though with no real proof, is that the overstimulation, so much so to the point of like, I think you could probably call it an ego death or a disassociation with ego, so much so that you have that familiarity, that object permanence, the nose blindness gets stripped away, and you're recognizing what feels as another presence. And recognize is the important word there. You know, it's different than seeing. You're recognizing, like you're looking in the mirror. You're seeing another person, I guess. Seeing is not really the right word, but
Okay, so there's a lot there, and I've got a few different questions that may help kind of get us on the same page here. Ella, do you have anything you want to start with?
I guess the first thing I would say is that it's a little bit difficult to say that hallucinations are evidence of this when the hallucination is based off of something that is biologically interacting with the brain. So, like, it's hard to say that there's a separate consciousness or there's some supernatural thing going on when you're also having like an extreme flush of hormones that are causing you to hallucinate. And I would also just bring up that the AWARE study provides pretty good evidence that even when you have like these near-death experiences, you're not actually able to recall the things that you quote unquote see when you're outside of yourself. So just because you hallucinate doesn't mean that it's real. And so I think that it's important to separate the thing that like observations that you make that are reliable and something that you could probably repeat and observe multiple periods of time, which is what the scientific method relies on, versus hallucinations that are instigated by a pharmaceutical and likely depend on your prior bias. Individuals who are atheists probably aren't going to dream of Jesus. Individuals who are Christians probably will.
I agree, and that's kind of why I wanted to move away from the psilocybin. I wasn't meaning to convey that the fact that it was a hallucination is evidence. More so, I have experience with hallucinogens, and I can tell you that they're very overstimulating. So much so that it's very similar to live music or a religious event. I would not say whatsoever that what I'm talking about has a root in hallucinations.
Well, what about the other end of that then? Like, if we're talking about someone who's having like actual hallucinations, and you're saying that's not a thing, then let's look at the other side of this. Somebody who has aphantasia, where they are not able to construct an image in their minds, right? They are not able to visualize things mentally. Or was looking up these terms. I want to make sure I was saying them right. Anendophasia, which is where you do not have an internal monologue. You don't have that self-talk that a lot of us are so familiar with, where you're talking to yourself about your day and like reasoning with yourself in a sort of a conversation. They just don't have that. Like, do those people not fit into this framework that you're talking about, or is there some other second mind that they're experiencing that would be evidenced here? Like, how does that work?
My apologies for interrupting.
No, please.
In short, no. The one that's in charge of your body, is in charge of the internal monologue, is in charge of the ability to conjure images in your mind. I was incapable of doing so for most of my life until 2023. I could not conjure an image in my mind. I am now capable of doing so. It's something I practiced at until I was capable of doing it.
Okay. So how does that work here? Is the thing. If we're talking about like, because what it sounds like you have described is just kind of like the normal self-talk that people do, either when they're thinking really hard, or they're like self-soothing, or some people just do it as they go around their day just to kind of occupy their mind. And it sounds an awful lot like that. And so, like, what I'm trying to say is that there are people who don't do that ever. And you even say, you had to learn to do that. So how does that fit into your dualistic model if this is either a skill or something you simply may not possess?
Okay. If I may, I would like to draw this back one step, because based off of the question that you just asked, I feel like I'm not conveying my idea correctly.
I may not be understanding it correctly, so let's try again.
Communication is fallible. We are going to interpret what each other say. I am saying that in the same way, and in fact, actually in the exact same way, that religious people, Christians specifically, because it's the one I'm most familiar with, will tell you to seek absolution, seek forgiveness from God or from Jesus or whomever they believe in. The idea of communicating with yourself is as simple as your internal monologue. There is something to be said about manifesting. While I don't believe in a supernatural or spiritual sense of manifesting, I do think that what is in your mind is representative of how you will feel. I can tell you with certainty that my self-image improved dramatically when I stopped self-deprecating language or self-deprecating thoughts in my own mind. And
sure,
the idea that's being expressed, not necessarily what's being said, but the idea of it, it's like jazz, you're looking at what's not being played, is that you communicate with yourself via either your internal monologue or some other way. The ideas that you have, I guess.
I'm sorry, but I'm struggling to understand the claim here, because like this all seems like it depends on the mind, meaning there's no secondary spirit, there's no soul, it's just your mind. And you can literally teach your mind to be more self-loving. if anything, that's evidence that there is no soul, because there are objective things that you can do and practice with your mind to have a better mind. And that's what I do when I study. Like I don't actually have an inner monologue. I don't think in words, I think in pictures. So whenever I'm trying to memorize something, I memorize it as like a book so that way I can actually read it. And it's easier for me to memorize actual words because I don't think in words. So in that same way, you teaching yourself how to think in pictures, that doesn't really tell me that there is something other than the mind.
Okay. To be clear, I don't think there is a soul. I think the soul is a incredibly dead concept because the mind can be altered by physical means. I'm claiming that the whatever I'm talking about, I don't think there's a word for it. I describe it as the brain, I guess. I told the Colin Scruder mind-body dualism because the brain is a physical thing and the mind is not. The mind is it seems to be a construct of the brain. My claim is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but it is. So, like, the way that your brain works is through action potentials, which basically are organized flushing and taking out certain types of ions, like sodium ions, to excite a brain cell, which allows for these pathways to be activated. So, for your ability to think in pictures, these action potentials must occur, and we can measure these action potentials. I don't know the exact technology, but you can basically measure the activity in the brain, which is why we have, for example, evidence of surges in electroencephalogram activity at the time of death, based off of a different case series. But that being said, we can measure these things, meaning that the mind is quite literally directly tied to the brain. And without your brain, you don't have a mind.
Well, yes. I'm not claiming that they're separate. So insofar as that the brain itself makes the mind, I understand why that sounds like I'm saying that they're two different things. There is no mind without the brain. There is no spirit. There's no soul. I'm not claiming that. But it's very much the analogy I made earlier of the avatar controlling the meat suit. The you that creates memories and is in charge of moving your body and basically all of you is the mind. But I'm claiming that there is more than that. There are intrusive thoughts. There are feelings that you're not in control of. You breathe automatically without having to manually inflate and deflate your lungs. And you could say that
you can if you choose
like
to.
On a,
I just want to so a couple of things. Number one, shout out to the fucking doofus in the chat who just had to get muted because he's spreading a bunch of weird shit about COVID on a call-in show where we're encouraging anti-vaxxers complaining about mRNA like you just were to call in and saying, I don't want to share my phone number for spam calls. Bitch, do you see anybody else's phone number but ours on the screen? What are you talking about? Jesus. It's like third person we've had to mute already for coming in here and saying some dumb shit and refusing to call and talk to the hosts. Blows my mind every time. Second of all, Brennan, like, yes, of course, there are plenty of involuntary things that happen in your body, some of which can, be called under voluntary control. The way your eyes work, the way your lungs work, pick your favorite. It's great. There are a lot of things that are involuntary that you can't call under control. But all that you're really boiling down to here, it sounds like we're getting into the weeds of, like, where do these thoughts come from in the first place? Or what's the initial root first cause of the thinky thing? Or, like, whatever. And, like, none of this none of this conjures up anything mystical, magical, anything that isn't physical. All you're telling us is that there's something about the mind that goes a little bit beyond your understanding of it. And then what? Like, where does this get us? I don't think that there's another person living in my head because of this. And I certainly don't think this is evidence for, I know you said there isn't anything like a soul, but, like, any other mystical whatever, what are we talking about here?
Okay.
I'd also mention the Sorry, I just wanted to also mention that like the cells that actually instigate, like for example, heartbeat, breathing, like involuntary breathing and involuntary heart rate, that's still like dependent on your brain and neurotransmitters and signals from your brain. So there's that too.
Yes. Forrest, thank you for uh, kind of showing me where I haven't explained my thought process here very well.
Okay.
I think that the language to describe what I'm talking about exists already, but it's being used in different ways to describe the same thing. We have conscious and subconscious brain activity. I'm saying that the subconscious is essentially what I'm describing it in a different way than you would generally rather hear it be described, but for what is essentially the same purpose. I think that
Why?
it's a good question. I don't think it functions as a definition as well as what I'm trying to get across.
Okay, but what? I'm gonna be real with you. I'm trying not to be rude to you here. I really am trying to understand. But it's been 20 minutes, and I don't think I understand what you are trying to say to me here. Because every time I repeat back to you what I think you're saying, it sounds like it just changes completely and becomes more mundane. I feel like we started this call with something very close to psychedelics unlock religions, and now we're up to like, you have a subconscious and a conscious mind, and those are two different things, which means two things exist. And none of these are useful to me. So before we move on, because we got other people waiting, we try to summarize for me, just like tell me what I don't know. Like what am I not getting about this? Put one single, by the way, Jesus Christ, person in the chat, third time now getting fucking muted. If you want to talk about RNA, call the fuck in. But just please give me like a couple sentences here, elevator pitch from scratch. If start this conversation totally over, you have a claim and it is blank. Go.
The mind is a construct of the brain. We are nose blind to the subconscious because we are constantly trapped in our own perception of the world around us. I think it is possible to leave that nose blindness via overstimulation. My evidence for this is the fact that a lot of religious people claim to feel another presence with them during incredibly overstimulating activities. Similarly, psychedelics, mushrooms specifically, cause massive amounts of stimulation and euphoria, which overwhelms the nervous system, allowing you to lose that object permanence, that nose blindness, to recognize it. I think that the split brain experiments kind of pointing to the idea that there are two sets of consciousness, one which is capable of speaking and another which is capable of communicating through writing. I think that it is lateral, like your brain is bilateral, your consciousness seems to be lateral. One part of your brain controls the you that is, the avatar of the meat suit, and the other one is the rest of it. And I think that when you have a corpus callosum and your brain is attached, you're capable of doing all the things that both parts of the brain are required to do. Both parts of the hemispheres of the brain are capable of being drawn upon through the corpus callosum, but otherwise they're separate. Two entities. I don't think there's anything supernatural about it or anything spiritual. It's just, I think that is the fundamental feeling of religion, and that Christians specifically assign personhood to this subconscious and call it
that made
Jesus.
If that was a thing, then wouldn't we expect to see a severe drop in religiosity among people who are severely epileptic and have that corpus callosum severed?
Yeah, in fact, I've heard Matt say multiple times that in split brain experiments that afterwards one part of the brain is religious and the other part isn't.
Yeah, and that can happen. That can happen. I don't know, man. I don't feel like, I feel like all we've gotten out of here is that we have a conscious and a subconscious, or that there's some parts of our brains that think in ways that we're not fully cognizant of. And like, there's no argument from me, but we're not breaking any new ground here.
I just found a really interesting study. So,
Sure.
according to, well, I don't think this is a study. I think this is actually, yeah, no, this is a review, but there is some data in here. And according to this review, which, by the way, I can go into the review to find the actual study for you if you really want, Brennan. But after suffering from a seizure, or specifically an epileptic seizure, religious experiences occurred in 1.3% of all epilepsy patients and 2.2% of TLE, or let me see the actual temporal lobe epilepsy patients. So I don't think that this supports your hypothesis. I think this actually goes against it, considering the majority of these patients did not seem to have like religious experiences, and then the religious like the religious symptoms that are like, oh, I am outside of my body, were reported in around 4% of patients. So that's, and I'm rounding up because it's technically 3.9. So, I mean, like, just, I don't find that very convincing unless you can provide me with data that says otherwise. And this is just from a quick search on PubMed.
I feel like you and I apologize, I don't remember your name. I feel like we might be talking past each other on the idea. Forrest, I think, fundamentally understands what I'm trying to get across, but
I
he's
don't.
right. I'm not saying anything new. Well, you kind of do. Yeah, I'm not saying anything new, and I agree.
I've fooled myself then, or I said something, because yeah, I don't know, man. It's been 25 minutes, and if we're not, like, if we have nothing serious to disagree on, and we don't even still understand what exactly we're talking about here, then I've got other calls waiting. I'm going to move on. But I appreciate you trying to explain this to us. Yeah, I think that the mind is made up of different parts, and we don't understand all of it, and no disagreement from me on that. But beyond that, I'm not sure where we're going with any of this.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time today. Maybe I can boil down this idea a little bit further into a more intuitive package, and I'll call again another time.
That'd be great. Maybe I'm just too stupid to pick up what you're putting down, but like, yeah, just not working for me right now. Anyway, thank you so much, Brendan. Take care. Interesting first call.
Very interesting first call.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with any of that.
Me neither. I'm so confused.
And he at the end was saying that I understood him, and I promise I don't. And again, no, the dude wasn't disrespectful. You know, the dude wasn't being a jerk. No problem with any of that. I'm not mad at the guy. I'm not trying to be rude to the guy. But it sounds like we all just agreed that we don't understand everything about how the brain works, and it appears that we talk to ourselves in some way or another, and there's a lower form of consciousness that, or a subconscious that does some stuff, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But like but then what? But then what? Like, what do we...
I tried to lock in on like some things he said just to see like, hey, maybe he's hinting at this. Like I tried to make it clear, but
well, the thing that caught me off guard, because like at the end of the day, I would have just said, okay, yeah, I agree, and we move on. But like the thing he kept saying was like, this is what he thinks is connected to like religious people. Like people have religious experience. He did use psychedelics a couple of times as an example of like, they have this profound experience, and this communication is what they perceive as a deity. But that's a huge claim. That sounds kind of just like your own rationalization. I've done shrooms and LSD, and they were remarkably different experiences in terms of like how quote quote spiritual they felt. So like, were these different gods that I met? And like, are we talking? If we're talking about a religious person doing these things, would we expect different experiences? I don't know. There's some interesting things there, maybe. But I don't know how to even test what he's saying, because I don't know how to summarize properly what he's saying, I feel. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just very confused.
Yeah.
So very confused.
We've got Two people currently in the queue, and we've got 3 people in the screening room waiting to come in. We've got we're gonna take the 2 people who are waiting first, probably, even though they are both atheists. So unless we get another theist calling in, if a theist calls in, we'll take them first. But as of right now, Ella, I leave it up to you. Do you want to talk about Mormonism, or do you want to talk about trans and intersex people?
Ooh, I'm down for either. I know how to debate on abiogenesis stuff.
Mm.
I don't know much about Mormonism as a religion. I know more about like Christianity and like Catholicism.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but like I'm down to
Mormonism
talk
is
to
a
any.
lot of the same and then weirder.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sounds good. Let's
Let's
dive
start
in.
with that, because this person is currently we have Perez calling in from Nigeria, who grew up Mormon and is currently doubting. So like maybe we'll be able to help with some deconstruction here.
Yeah.
Perez, you were on the line with Forrest and Ella. How you doing today?
Hello?
Perez, you're calling on the web caller. If your phone went to sleep, we can't hear you. So make sure your phone is awake. Go ahead and tap it, turn the screen on, and then we can hear you properly. We'll give Perez a couple more seconds. I heard something. Hey, there you are. All right. Hello. How are you? We'll try again. I hear a lot of noises. I can hear you, Perez. Can you hear us?
Uh,
What's happening?
I have no
Are
idea.
you are you are you texting? Is it a tappy thing? Your phone seems to be awake. I can hear you just fine. Can you hear us?
You think he maybe accidentally requested in?
No, I'm pretty sure you came to the calling queue a couple of times. He may be having some phone issues. I'm gonna go ahead, Perez. If you can hear me, I'm gonna return you to the queue. We're not hanging up. We're just gonna put you back in the queue with everybody else. Oh no, he hung up himself. So maybe he'll call back. In the meantime, let's try talking instead to Nancy, who is an atheist who wants to talk about trans and intersex people. Nancy, you're on the line with Forrest and Ella. How are you doing today?
Hi, Forrest. Hi, Ella. Hello, Ella. I am doing magnificent. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Never
How
had a
are
bad
you?
day, man.
Hell yeah. Well, my question is, I am someone who's coming at this with the experience, but not the knowledge, if that makes sense. So I am an intersex person. I have clients out there, and then I'm also transgender, male-ish to female-ish, and I have kind of pondered a lot how trans brains are different from cis ones. And when I say pondered a lot, I mean I am aware of some studies saying that they are more closely aligned with their trans sex than their cis sex and so on. And I was wondering if there was any talk or ideas of classification of trans people as intersex people, in that, how gonads and chromosomes and all this other stuff is classified as different sex things, and that if those are jumbled up, that makes you intersex. Well, if your brain doesn't correspond with your sex organs, is that a form of intersex as well, or is that something else? I'm interested to learn more. I feel like I have a lot of experience, but again, not the knowledge of like this. It's something that seems obvious to me, but isn't supported by anything. So either I want to shoot it down or prop it up, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think I understand where you're coming from. Ella, do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Um, I you start first. I'm
Okay.
looking for some stuff.
So the biggest thing that I would say is like there are sexually dimorphic regions in the brain, and we can talk about the brain being sexually dimorphic overall, insofar as like male brains typically have a larger volume because male brains are just bigger. Female brains typically have more wrinkly exteriors. They account for that with more wrinkling to pack in more neurons and stuff. So like there are some things that we can talk about here as far as like intersex characteristics in the brain. However, like reviews of this show that like these brain dimorphisms are not like super internally consistent, and they vary across populations quite a bit. And so while we can talk about sexually dimorphic regions, it's not like we can say like all man brains are going to look this way and all woman brains are going to look this way, so we see a woman brain in a male body and that's a trans person. It's like it's not really that easy. What that really, as far as I understand it, really more equates to is activation patterns. And there is some shaping, some neuroplasticity that goes along with living a gendered life and developing more or less a gendered brain. But those types, like we talk about, like how the brain is actually doing things. That's what we see more of a gendered display on, as far as I understand it. I'm not a neuroscientist. I have some training in this area, but like that's my understanding of the vibes. So I certainly wouldn't class that as a type of intersex unless we could definitively and reliably and consistently show, people with this gender identity always are going to look this way in terms of their neural architecture or their activation patterns or whatever. And we just don't see that, especially considering like how fluid of a concept gender is, even within one individual culture.
I would agree with that.
I hear where you're coming from. But I don't think that the actual functionality is there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And just for all for the sake of like simplicity, I just don't define gender and sex as the same thing. So when somebody says like intersex to me, I'm not thinking gender immediately. I'm thinking large gametes, small gametes, androgen insensitivity, like sex organ differences. I'm not thinking, oh, this person's hip bones are a little bit wider and their brains are a little smaller, so therefore they're intersex. I think of more sex organ related things. But that being said, like I think it's just I would just say it's more objective to separate the two concepts and to just define them differently. And even though two things are correlated, like I'm sure that like more greater degrees of like I guess intersexness, like the more drastic of a condition that you have, it's more likely that you're probably going to have some gender dysphoria just because there's so many things that are different with sex organ wise. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see that correlation, but I don't think that it's like causative or a mechanism. I think that it's just they're two separate things.
I think it's also important to point out because like Ella brings up a really interesting point here in terms of like, DSDs are not a one and done thing, right? They're not a monolithic situation. But what we are always talking about when we talk about like the definition of a trans person, right? It's someone whose gender identity is incongruent with their assigned sex. And so in that way, we're talking about like usually just phenotypic sex in that case. Sex is multivariate, right? So we're not generally going to be talking, when we talk about the trans person, oftentimes we're not going to be talking about sex in terms of chromosomes or sex in terms of hormonal balance or sex in terms of internal plumbing or internal genitalia or anything like. We're talking about just the giblets you can see on the outside, right? Whatever gets glanced at as a baby and then they write down a letter on your birth certificate. That's all it really fundamentally is, the kind of sex that we're mentioning there. So like
the phenotypic stuff.
Yeah. So like I agree with what Ella's saying here is that like it's not, I don't think it's as cut and dry even as we're having to boil it down to for this conversation.
No, that makes sense. So from what I've heard so far, the reason that it doesn't appear to be something you can connect like that is that the gender is really a separate term, which I would agree with, and for some reason hadn't considered really very much when thinking of this question. I think probably because my experience is so wrapped up in it, I was probably considering, you know, a lot of what trans identity is to be wrapped up in how people, yes, grow up and live, but also I kind of just assume from the outset that it is something rather inherent that, or biologically based, you know, that it's not just a, oh, I kind of vibe this way. And even if it is a vibe this way, that seems like a fine thing. It's just, I think that that if it is biologically based, as in like coming from your biology, which oh man, mentally I'm going into the weeds here of just everything is
You're fine.
biological that people do. But what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say is that to me, I consider biology the basis. So trans and intersex, or sex, I guess, in general, seem biologically based. So why wouldn't they start, if there's a cross identity, then for instance, if you have Klinefelters and you're having these, you know, secondary sex characteristics that you're not expecting, quote unquote expecting, then that would be, or perhaps expected, then that would be making you intersex. So if you came out with a gender that you didn't expect, or that was not expected, mentally I kind of conflated those two, and perhaps that was my big issue, is that I hadn't considered that.
Yeah, I think
No, I
that,
think.
oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to also mention, like, this is something that we speak a lot about in, like, specifically statistics. It's something I've been learning about a lot, which is that when you have a concept where basically the outcome being intersex, as well as, for example, let's say you're considering, like, or actually, let's say being trans would be considered the outcome, and then having intersex would be considered a step in that direction. You have intersex individuals who are more leaning towards, like, maybe a feminizing side or a masculinizing side, that maybe don't feel as much gender dysphoria as somebody who is also intersex but maybe feels a little bit more like gender dysphoria. So I think that it we should keep the ideas as separate, but rather look at them as something that can go alongside each other and can be almost additive in a way. Where if you have gender dysphoria and you're also intersex, I feel like that would drive things a lot more strongly. Whereas if maybe you have gender dysphoria but you're not intersex, that doesn't invalidate your experience, and that doesn't make you any less trans. I think that that would just mean that you are trans, just trans, whereas somebody who's intersex and trans is intersex and trans. And then you also have somebody who's intersex who's just intersex.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's all based on the buckets that you put it in, but I think that that seems like that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that the space I have it in my head is that I struggle to understand why the difference in labels exists. So while I understand that they are currently or will continue to be different labels, I wonder why they remain separate when at least maybe I'm misremembering it. I remembered that there was this study, and maybe it was linking back to what Forrest said about dysmorphic brains, but it was like trans women's brains more aligned with women's brains, and males' brains more aligned with trans males' brains. And maybe that is the same thing, or maybe it's different. But to me,
there are plenty.
If that was the case,
there are plenty of studies like that. Oh no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologise. Okay. I'm just saying there are plenty of studies like that which show, like, here's this one part of the region of the brain, like, for example, the sexually dimorphic region of the preoptic area is a really common one, right? It's so sexually dimorphic that it's
I've heard
literally
you
called the
mention that
fucking
before.
sexually dimorphic region, you know? And we do have studies like that which show, like, here's the average male volume, here's the average female volume, here's this trans man, and it turns out he has the average male volume, even though the rest of his body is phenotypically female. And like, okay, so what does that mean? There are plenty of things like that. The critique of that is folks that like the concept of a purely male or female brain is kind of outdated now. And so like the critique of that is to say, well, that doesn't really prove anything. And that, you know, saying a male brain or a female brain is really fundamentally no more useful than saying a male or female heart or male female spleen, right? And that's generally how that's taken. However, what I find more interesting, and what my friends who are neuroscientists do talk about this a lot, is the activation pattern thing. So like one study that I reference pretty frequently is I can try to find and post if you like. They put trans people in this, you know, brain imaging thing to see activation, and they would show them a computer generated image of their body and have it morphing through like CGI type shit. They would morph their body closer or farther away from like a hyper, you know, dimorphic sex assigned at birth thing. So like it would get more and more masculine or more feminine. And the same regions that activated when a cisgender person watched their body becoming closer to their sex assigned at birth, activated in trans people watching their body form away from their sex assigned at birth, and vice versa. And so that's the bigger thing, is like, it's not just good enough to say, here's this one region of the brain about the size of a grain of rice, and sometimes they have more neurons and sometimes they have less neurons and blah, blah, blah. It's actually, what is the brain doing? How is it actually interacting with the world around it? What are the activation patterns looking like? And as you do that, as you live a gendered life, then you develop more or less a gendered brain, for lack of a better word, as a result. That's kind of the way that I've seen the language going, but that's just me.
It's like you're building those loops and compounding whatever, you know, experience you have onto the experience you already have. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Okay. I feel like that really heads it off, the question at the pass, you know, I feel like that answers it for me. In that they truly are different things. I think that it is very interesting that that clearly I don't know stuff on the research there. That seems very, very cool research. But also interesting to know that as much as there is you know, actually, maybe the question itself is kind of bad because it kind of assumes a binary in its basis, which also might be a weird thing to say as an intersex person, because
it's fine.
Because I think
it's something fine that's common in society. So it's like, it's something that, yes, it's not the best thing in the same way that like race as a social construct is not the best thing. And it can lead into some pretty bad outcomes. However, I think it's also important to recognize that gender and race are still social constructs. And if we can acknowledge that they exist, that's an important thing. Like the fact that you can acknowledge that's a good thing. Also, mind if I go grab some water?
By all means. By the way, I just put the article in the chat. By the way, if you want to read it, it's called "Neural Systems for Own Body Processing Align with Gender Identity Rather Than Birth Assigned Sex" by Majid et al., published in 2020 in the journal Cerebral Cortex. So I just put that in the chat for you and anybody else who wants to check it out. But no, don't apologize for using like binary language here, because at the end of the day, like, it's the same reason we use language regarding things like species and communication and behavior and all these other things that are remarkably difficult to pin down and actually don't really have a biological real definition. Like it's just a model and it's working for the conversation. It's a easy way to get through what we're talking about without getting too tangled up in the weeds. So don't worry about that.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Thank you. I appreciate that. No
worries.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I hope that glasses of water become mandatory for y'all. They certainly were for me.
You're hoping the what becomes
That's
what? I
awesome.
didn't hear you.
I hope that glasses of water become mandatory for y'all as they
Glasses
were for
of
me
water.
for this call. Yeah. Thank you for
Most
answering
definitely.
my question and taking the time. I know it's a little bit of just like a random one, but it was something I've been thinking about. So
it was an interesting question. I appreciate you asking it.
yeah, cheers. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Nancy. Bye-bye. Well, we've got like 5 people that have called in, made it to the screening room, and then something goes wrong and they drop. We got somebody in the screening room right now waiting. But we've got this just deluge of people trying to get in, and something keeps, like, who knows? Something's going wrong with somebody's microphone, with everybody's weirdness. But while we're waiting for Ella to return, I want to remind everybody that we still do have a few lines open. We've got some people that are filling in at this moment. But we are taking taking calls, especially from people who disagree with us about science. More than anything, we would love to talk to theists, love to talk to Christians, love to talk to creationists. But more than anything, I'd love to talk to people who have a problem with evolution, people who have a problem with vaccines. This is a chance for anti-vaxxers and creationists and science deniers of all kind to jump in and talk to 2 people. I know you only see one right now, but it is 2. It'll eventually be 2. 2 people who study and talk about this stuff for a living. People who are excited to share with you the beautiful, wonderful nature of reality. Science is awesome, and you can too. So if you want to talk about sex and gender in a real way, if you think that we don't know what a woman is and that we the trans people are something about woke mind virus or social contagion or whatever, this is your chance to pick up that phone. If you think that random mutations can't make eyeballs and spleens and hearts and organ systems and things like that, this is your chance to call in, pick up that phone. If you think that putting mRNA in your body will change your genetic code and make you more susceptible to... I'm going to kill my co-host, see that? If you think that putting mRNA in your body is going to change your genes and turn you into a slave to the deep state, this is your chance to pick up that phone. One time, before I became a public science communicator person, before I started my job as a YouTuber and a content creator, I was trying to explain how vaccines work and how mRNA works, and a real, actual person, accused me of being a robot who was sent by the government to indoctrinate them and lead people away from God by teaching about vaccines. That was on Facebook, big surprise, back when I had a Facebook. Don't have one anymore. But Lord, the writing was on the wall for what the next 7 years were going to be for my life at that time. Who knew, you know?
Oh man, I have like a special... Vaccines have a special place in my heart because I didn't get my last HPV vaccine growing up.
Oh man.
And I actually had cervical dysplasia, which
Oh.
really freaked me the fuck out. And so like I am extremely like pro-vaccine. I
Yeah.
get my HIV, my COVID, my flu shot, everything, every single year because I don't want to have I've already had for example, I've already had mono, which is like I already am seeing all of this research on it that is talking about like MS. I don't want long COVID. I don't want to be unalived by the flu. That's like,
yep.
And, oh man, TikTok speak.
You don't have to say unalived here, by the way.
I know.
But, yeah. No, I get it, dude. I get sick maybe once a year or so, and when it happens, it hits really hard. I had COVID one time. Fucking Hank Green gave me COVID, of all fucking people. Piece of shit. And that was the only time I've ever had it, and it hit me like a damn train, dude. Amber, nothing. Didn't bother her one bit. She was walking around, didn't notice. I was on the couch groaning for like 4 days. Couldn't keep my eyes open. Couldn't stand up. It was just awful. If I hadn't been vaccinated, imagine how bad that could have been for me.
Oh my God.
Dude, I'm not doing it. Especially because I don't have enough blood. Like, that's a cool thing about me. I don't. I'm severely anemic, and I just
Oh.
need, yeah, it's a bad time. So like, especially considering the fact that I get like winded for minutes at a time by meandering across a room sometimes if I'm out of an infusion.
I just so
I
you
don't want to
know,
deal with that.
I've just noticed a few comments in the chat. I'm not sure if maybe I misspoke. If I said HIV, I meant HPV, not HIV.
I figured that's what you meant. I
Yeah,
wasn't going to hold you
no,
to it, but our chat is vicious, and they will not let you
I
get off the
noticed.
hook with anything.
Yeah, no, I actually, so two things, fun facts about my stupid biology. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I've actually had
Oh,
over 5
nice.
surgeries because of it. I rolled
Jesus.
over in my sleep and slipped a rib out of my sternum. I've had,
Fucking whoa.
yeah, I got a scar right here. I've got 2 bunionectomies. I have a surgery that was in my like lower abdomen because my organs kept falling out.
Yeah.
And I also have a linguistic disorder, which is why I actually can't think before I speak, which is fun. So there's that.
Well, quit showing off is what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, it's not a competition. All right. It's just you don't have to have all these. You don't have to do this. Just
It was so funny when I first slipped my rib out because I thought that I was like, I thought I initially thought it was like a gallbladder thing because it hurt so bad.
yeah.
But then I started like being able to pop it in and out, and it was like clicking. It was really weird.
It's wild, dude. It's wild. We've got some people who are stuck in the calling queue. While you stepped away for a second, we have these couple of people who are stuck in the screening room who have been going around and around. One of them is a theist. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk to them soon. In the meantime, just out of curiosity, what is your favorite anti-vax argument? Like, what's the one that tickles you the most, gets you going, angers you, aggravates you, delights you? Which one makes you smile, or rage?
COVID-19 causes myocarditis.
And does it?
Sorry, no, COVID-19 vaccines cause, Jesus,
Yeah.
this is what I was talking about. COVID-19 vaccines cause myocarditis. Good Lord, not the other way around. Well, COVID-19 does cause myocarditis, but it's significantly worse than the vaccine.
I was gonna say.
Oh, man. Oh, God.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I actually did a lot of reading on this, particularly because I worked in that cardiovascular laboratory. And myocarditis, due to COVID-19, the actual virus and not the vaccine, is significantly more severe pathologically and just structurally and time-wise, like it takes longer to heal from than any kind of vaccine injury from the actual vaccine that you could get. And then on top of that, I actually did some like I looked at the injury statistics because I was fascinated. And according to injuryfacts.nsc, you are approximately 40,000 times more likely to die from heart disease than to get myocarditis from the COVID vaccine.
So how many times again?
40,000.
40,000 times more likely.
Which makes sense when you
Wild.
think about it, that your odds of dying are 1 in 6. Whereas with the COVID-19 vaccine, it's like 1 in a million people ever get myocarditis, which is like the most passive temporal thing ever, and it's extremely rare. So it makes me so frustrated when people are like, yeah, the mRNA vaccine causes myocarditis. I'm like,
It's like even if it was any kind of a reliable thing, where like this was a major risk, it's like saying, if you have your tumor removed, it might cause a scar. You know what I mean? Like fuck, dude, what are we talking about here? Like
sugar-free cancer. That's another one I hate. I know it's not to do with the vaccine.
Cancer.
I hate that myth so much. It makes. I actually there was a supposed professor who decided to reach out to me in my DMs saying I don't understand anything about cancer metabolism because I said that that sugar does not only feed cancer, it feeds all of your cells, and cancer can feed on ketones and lactate, which it can through two-compartment tumor metabolism model. That claim is it.
You know, I was just seeing a couple of like doctors post about that today. Like, hey, you fucking idiot, you need sugar to live as well as like it's so stupid. Like, so I'm guessing this is a modern thing. Also, F's in the chat for the person who couldn't even make it through the call. Like I said, we've had some issues with people getting bounced around in the call screen, don't know what's going on. We have somebody on the line we're about to talk to, and somebody else who's in the call screen right now. Hopefully, we can talk to here in a minute. But like, person who lasted not even a minute in the screening room, who called in to talk about how vaccine causes heart attacks and blood clots and food dyes cause cancer and things like. You almost made it onto the show, but apparently couldn't hold it down. I don't know, man. And then here's this person also. I'm guessing this is the same person now in the chat as well, talking about how like people in the world still get polio, but companies are making a fortune from a shoddy vaccine. Bitch, do you have polio? What are the numbers like on polio right now? How popular is polio? How much is polio going around in vaccinated versus unvaccinated populations? What do you think's going on with polio in the world? Polio a big problem where you live? Maybe vaccines are the reason why it isn't. Who knows? You know, it's throwing that out there. Let's talk next. We're gonna do sex and gender again because this person has a question about it. We're talking to Ash, pronouns they and them, who wants to ask if sex and gender are indeed different. Ash, you are on the line with Forrest and Ella. How you doing today?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
It's going.
Yeah, I was more, I don't know if I believe that sex and gender are really separate because, like, there are two sexes for a reason. You know, it's procreation. And so when you have, like, because I used to be non-binary, and now I identify as a woman because even though I don't feel like a woman, it's all in my head. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of a mental thing, which is, you know, hey, maybe we'll find a cure someday. But for now,
would you like us to change your pronouns on screen? Because right now our call screener has them listed as they and them.
No, I still go by they them.
Okay.
But yeah, I just.
So
is that? I don't know.
Do you want to start, Elle, or do you want me to?
But it's like I started out as a Catholic, and then I became an atheist, and now I'm back to Catholicism / evangelical.
Okay. And then you also started off as a woman and then became non-binary, and now you're leaning back woman again. So like a lot of wiggle room here.
Well, I don't think I was actually non-binary. I just kind of like it was because it's just like in your head. It's just in my head, you know?
But if it's in your head, then it's still real. Like, you realize that every single thing that you do right now, even speaking to us right now, is in your head, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with sex.
Yes, it does. You know what androgen
Certainly.
insensitivity syndrome is?
Repeat that?
Androgen insensitivity syndrome?
No. What's
Okay,
that?
so it's when the receptors of your body are insensitive to androgens, which typically have that masculinizing effect. So have you ever seen a bodybuilder that's really like beefy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what they do to get that beefy is they usually use some kind of androgens. Usually what they're called is anabolic androgenic steroids, and that's typically what they're using for that. And so what happens in androgen insensitivity syndrome is all the androgen receptors which respond to these androgens just don't respond to the androgens. So you could have a ton of testosterone in your body. You could literally be using anabolics and you just won't grow as like you won't have the same masculinizing effect as, for example, that bodybuilder who has working androgen receptors. And androgen receptors are everywhere, including like your brain.
But you would still be male or female, though, right?
No, not so.
Well,
Androgen
sex.
insensitivity syndrome can result in female presenting um, female presenting individuals. For example, I actually pulled this up just a while ago.
It's important to remember there's different when we say female. You would be chromosomally female. You would,
Mhm.
or sorry, in this case, you would be chromosomally male. You would be genetically male. You might have, you would have testes internally, but your external phenotype would be female.
Yeah, and there's a report of actually fertility of a woman with a 46XY karyotype in a family with multiple disorders of sexual development. And she basically grew up like a normal woman with spontaneous periods and puberty and everything else. But she was not, like, her body was not responding to androgens in the same way that we would, or like that we would and other guys would. So like there are syndromes like that specifically affect things like your brain and have this effect. And I'm sure Forrest could probably cite some better brain stuff than me.
Well, but wait, I'm confused because wouldn't that just mean like there would still be like female or male? There wouldn't be like because I don't think that we
No.
have
Right, but
there's like
the
disorders
gender
and stuff, but
the gender
No.
presentation is what she's showing is going to be different in this case. Like
Yes.
so I guess let me if I it's okay, let me just try to break down a couple of things with you. Do you I don't remember if you said this already, so forgive me if I'm asking you to repeat yourself. You understand that sex and gender are different things, right? We're cool on that?
She said she thinks they're the same.
I'm pretty sure they're not though.
You did. Okay, I could not
Well,
remember
like
if you
gender
said
would
this or
be
not.
like how you feel. Is that what you mean?
No.
No.
So
Like,
No,
wait.
so sex refers to anatomical, physiological characteristics used to categorize males, females, and intersex people. And so we're not saying intersex is a third sex. We're just saying that there are not two perfectly discrete boxes that always catch everybody with the same reliability and in the same way, right? And then gender refers to the socially constructed norms, behaviors, characteristics, what expectations of men, women, girls, boys, and non-binary people. And those two things need not be congruent. So, like, to walk through how this makes sense, like, you understand if I were to say that female always means woman forever, then I would also have to say that like every female dog and fish and tree is a woman. So first we have to establish that like these terms mean different things. And gender is something, as far as we can understand it, is really only a phenomenon in humans. You know?
also I just wanted to add
Sorry, go
on to
ahead.
that.
Yeah.
If sex and gender were completely the same thing, then our teacher would not have us basically trying to trick us into identifying a female versus a male pelvis, because they would literally be so distinct that we would be able to tell. However, this was a trick question for a reason, and pretty much everyone got it wrong because it's virtually impossible to be 100% accurate in identifying a female versus a male pelvis. In the same way, it's virtually impossible to like very clearly identify a female versus a male brain. If male and
Yeah.
female were distinct binary categories in biology, then it would be extremely easy to identify organs, muscles, bones, and brains between the two sexes, but it's not.
Well, there's certain things that are like specific to male or female. I would never guess that a pelvis would be
Right.
hard to identify.
Oh, it's
It-
very difficult.
Because don't we have
Well,
different?
so when
like-
you look at one like in a textbook, right? Generally speaking, the way that I usually teach it is like if you look at a male pelvis, the pelvic pubic angle is about the same as the space between the angle between your first and second finger, right? Like that's about what that is. And meanwhile, if you look at a female pelvis, it's about between your thumb and your forefinger, right? And that's the actual angle. You can show that. The issue is like the way that this is taught to people is as if humans are just like fucking triangles and you're either upside down or right side up and your pelvis is either huge or tiny and your jawbone is either huge or tiny. when we actually are trying to look at like these bone markers, like the pelvis, the nuchal crest, the size of the jaw, the size of the brow ridge, blah blah blah, they are kind of fuzzy, and it's not always as easy as people like to pretend to say this is definitively this or that. And so really in forensics, people will say like probably, like it's probably male, maybe male, I don't know, maybe female, probably female, and they usually get a lot of false positives towards male.
Especially, this is especially the case if you have a full or partial body. Like, let's say you find that this individual has breasts. However, they have an android pelvis. An android pelvis is technically the shape for males, but this person has breasts. This person has, maybe you even see like partial, I guess, female parts on this person. Let's say they got cut up or something. I know that's very gruesome, but like that's like what I'm trying to get at is like if you have part of the body, but you see that this individual has an android pelvis. If you were given nothing but the android pelvis, you would think that that person is male because that's the only way that you would be able to identify them. But they could be female. For example, like I know people who have android pelvises. In fact, I have like very close to an android pelvis. I have between an android and I believe it's gynecoid.
Well, would you say that's a disorder, or is that just kind of like a variation?
No, no. It's literally just the shape of your pelvis. There's 4 different shapes. So then are you claiming that there's 4 different sexes?
There's 4 different shapes.
Yes, there's gynecoid, android, anthropoid, and platyploid. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes, but there's also different specific shapes of the actual structures. So you could have different spaces between the mid pelvis. You could have maybe a mix between android and gynecoid. You could have a mix between platyploid and anthropoid. Like there's different variations. You could have the shape of a gynecoid, but you could have maybe the mid pelvis be more similar to, let's say, an anthropoid. Like it's not something that is 100% binary. So you could have any combination of these really, and it wouldn't be like something that you couldn't have, because in reality, the shape of like a gynecoid pelvis being like kind of like almost heart shaped is still like something you could have, but you could have like maybe the actual 2 pelvic bones a little bit more narrow together. Like it's not one or the other.
It's also important to remember that bones are living things. Like we talk about them a lot of times, like they're this like stone structure in our body that's like unchanging and dead. But like bones morph and change and grow and everything all the time. And that has a lot to play in with like hormones play a big role in this. And so you'll hear a lot of the times like postmenopausal women, especially as they get up in age, they'll talk about how they've like lost their hips because their literal fucking pelvis is reshaped due to lack of estrogen. And so like it's not like their sex changed over the course of their life. It's just that the shape of your pelvis changes along. The key to all of this, Ash, is just that like when we talk about sex and gender, you were talking about how a couple of things you said were really important, that this is all in your head and that they're intrinsically linked. And I think at one point we talked about like the biology of it all. Gender is a social thing, but that doesn't mean there's no biological implications. Biological things are the things that do social things, right? And we talked a little bit ago about like gender in the brain, and talking to you about like your gender perception. I think your own experience with your gender kind of speaks to just how non-binary of a construct it is. You can consider how gender has changed in your own culture over time, how different genders are across cultures today in the world around us. Not even adding on all these different time periods where we see gender changing. If I were to talk about American culture today, certainly wouldn't make any sense for me to say, I shouldn't say it makes no sense, but like you would probably find it weird if I said, as a man, I'm walking around in a wig and lots of makeup and like high heels and fainting and weeping with emotion all the time. But in the 1600s, that is exactly what men were expected to do. And so like at the end of the day, like gender changes from person to person, from culture to culture, generation to generation, day to day. what these words mean, what the expectations are surrounding them. These are all fluid things. And all we're talking about with trans people or with non-binary people, whatever, is that these things, these expectations, the way we perceive ourselves and the way that our cultures perceive us and all this, aren't really always congruent with this strict biological whatever, which isn't super binary either. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but that's kind of I think, okay, when I told my parents that I think I'm non-binary, they looked at me like I had like 5 heads. And when we talked about it, they kind of understood that it was more like I don't want to say delusion, but like a perception, like how you perceive something might not be correct, And so if
Sure.
even though I don't feel like a woman and I never have felt like a girl or anything, it's the way I was born that kind of dictates like what you are as a person, even though like you don't, because I can dress how I want and I can use my pronouns and all that. I just don't like, I don't know, I won't say that I'm non-binary anymore because it's like I don't want to say delusion, but that's how they put it. You know what I mean?
Well, let me start by saying I'm really fucking sorry that happened.
Yeah.
That somebody treated you that way. That sucks. And what you just described is exactly what we're talking about here. Is that where you were born, if you were born in a Native American culture, probably wouldn't have had that reaction because they are cool with two-spirit people. They've had a third gender / non-binary construct across all the different nations have their own thing, but generally the blanket term is two-spirit. All these different cultures across the United States, across indigenous America, have different ways of expressing non-binary and transgender identities. Same with indigenous people in Madagascar, same with indigenous people in Australia, same with indigenous cultures across Europe. And then it's not just indigenous folks either. Like there's plenty of cultures out there that have third and fourth and fifth gender and transgender options. So the fact that you were treated the way you were is kind of a product, a consequence of the cultural construct of gender that you grew up in. Doesn't change your reality. Doesn't change your perceived gender. Doesn't change your gender identity. Doesn't change how you see yourself. So all we're saying here is that science has consistently shown, and I can get in some examples if you like. We can do some thought experiments to break it down. That sex and gender are distinct and they're not always congruent. And because gender is necessarily spectral as something that is socially constructed, again, that doesn't mean it doesn't have anything to do with biology, but the fact that it is necessarily non-binary and spectral means that there's going to be people like you out there who just don't see yourself fitting with the expectations, the norms, the roles, the whatever that are being thrust upon you by the society that you happen to be born into. And that's totally acceptable. You don't fucking have to. And even me, I'm a cisgender man. I have plenty of other friends who are cisgender men. I guarantee you, Ash, if I sat down and wrote out a paragraph of what it means to be a man, to me, it will be different than all of theirs. Even within our concept of masculinity, it's going to be different. That's just how it works, dude. So the fact that this doesn't work for you is no shame against you. It's not a delusion. It's not anything that's crazy or weird. It's just how you see yourself and how you describe yourself and how you identify. And you're allowed to do that, dude. I encourage you to do it more.
And I'd add on that there's virtually nothing in biology that's binary. Even when we're talking about the traditional sex chromosomes, you don't only have XX and XY. You have XXY, you have XY with androgen insensitivity, where the individual is presenting with female characteristics and is even completely fertile. You have just X. You have, what is it, triple
Turner syndrome.
Yeah. You've got a ton of different variations, which demonstrates that you can survive, and it's not a binary thing in biology. Same thing goes with the brain, same thing goes with the pelvis, as I explained. And even when we're talking about like other social constructs, like almost nothing in biology is that cut and dry. If it was, then my job wouldn't be super hard.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Ash, is this resonating with you at all, or do you think we're missing the mark on something?
I feel like there's a lot of information that was just thrown at me, and
Yeah.
I need to look more into it because I don't think I really understood the like that there, because I in my mind and the way I was taught, it had always been like there are two sexes and anything outside of that is just a disorder, but they're still like male or female. So I guess I need to.
That is the typical. That is the typical talking point. There's only two sexes, except for these other things, which we just don't talk about. And it's like the crazy thing is, dude, like when we talk about intersex people, which it's important to remember, because sex and gender are different, non-binary people, transgender people, that isn't the same as intersex, right? But we can use intersex characteristics and intersex, conditions to kind of understand it better. Swire syndrome is one of my favorites to point to. Swire syndrome is where we have someone who has XY chromosomes, and yet they are phenotypic. It's not complete androgen insensitivity syndrome like Ella was talking about, but they have XY chromosomes, and yet they've developed phenotypically female, including having a vagina and a uterus and so on. And we have plenty of case studies of women with Swire syndrome getting pregnant and giving birth. And transphobes in the audience love to say, "Oh, they have to have in vitro fertilization or something like that," which you'd never say to somebody who wasn't intersex. You're not a real woman because of these, right? At the end of the day, you either need to accept that some women have XY chromosomes, or that some men can give birth, or which I agree with both of those things because sex and gender are different, or that at the end of the day, there's kind of some fuzzy weirdness here, and maybe it's not as simple as we like to pretend. And if we boil it down into this super simple functionality, which I think you mentioned at the beginning, like, well, it's all about reproduction. I'm not having kids ever. I'm making sure of it. So yeah. So like, what if it's all about reproduction? Then what the fuck are child-free people? Or what's somebody who's born sterile? Right? What does meant to mean? Because now we're not doing biology. We're doing fortune telling. And so like. At the end of the day, dude, like I know there's a huge amount of stuff here. And I really appreciate you listening to us ramble. But what I would encourage,
there's a lot of stuff I didn't know.
There's so much to it. It's a whole thing. There's people who study this shit for a living, and I promise you, nobody in a PhD program in reproductive biology is sitting around a table with a professor going, "Yep, XXXY, that's the whole thing. Yep, XXXY, it's what you're meant to do." You know what I mean? It's diverse and it's weird. So what I would just encourage you to do, because I think you've been really, really charming through this whole thing, and is that like, I would encourage you to just continue exploring what it means to be a man or a woman or neither or both or whatever the hell you feel or whatever the hell makes sense to you, and then live however the shit you want, and damn the consequences, and fuck anybody who says anything otherwise. The people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. That's the advice I would give you, but I'm not like you, anarchy. Dude. And I'm an anarchist too, wouldn't you believe it? And so, dude, I want to make sure that you are not being pushed into more, for lack of a better word, the closet here. And I think you're too cool of a person to have that done to you. And it sounds like somebody's trying, and that makes me sad.
Oh, you're so nice. Yeah. So okay, so I need to like really look into this stuff, and hopefully I can find someone to like dumb it down a little bit. Yeah.
If you want, I've got a video on my YouTube channel called Sex and Sensibility. It's long as fucking shit, dude. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, but it's just a thorough breakdown. It was my capstone project for my master's in biomedical sciences, and I just took everything I could find about sex and sex development, gender across cultures, sexuality, and I just vomited it in a way that made sense, that I tried to, help people understand it better. And I included every reference for everything that I even halfway mentioned and a ton of shit that I didn't mention, and just threw it on the screen just to be an asshole about it. And so like you can go through there and watch that thing. It's a lot of fun. If you'd like some specific resources, I'm happy to provide some of those too. If you have any if you have any specific questions before we move on to the next call, I'm happy to take those from you as well.
I think I don't have. Well, I have too many questions at the moment, and so I need to like actually kind of not. Well, you know, I'm gonna watch that video. I have time. I'm gonna watch that video. Thank you so much for everything. And I'm sorry if I was weird, but yeah, thank you.
You weren't. No, you weren't. You asked great questions, and it's an honor to be a part of your journey. Watch that video and call me back with criticisms and critiques and questions and concerns and comments and you know, chew me out over it. I would love to talk to you some more. Ella's got an Instagram and a YouTube and whatnot, and I'm sure she's going to be available for you as well. I'm putting you on the spot.
I answer way too many DMs. Honestly, it's
there you go. And I answer none. But like, yeah, dude, we're here for you, and we want to be a part of your journey, and we want you to be happy. The only thing here is I want you to be happy. If you end up completely disagreeing with me and you're totally satisfied with your gender identity and your life and however you live, and you think I'm a fucking idiot, that's just fine with me. As long as you're just happy and living your truth, I'm thrilled.
No, y'all are too smart for me, and so I'm like kind of lagging behind.
You're just fine. You're just fine. And if you think I'm smart, I've got you fooled. Anyway, with that, Ash, we're going to move on to probably one of our last calls of the show. But thank you so much for calling in. And please feel free to call us back anytime, okay?
All right. Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. What's going on with all the pleasant calls? You know?
We have yet to get one anti-vax, one crazy individual. We have yet to see that.
I'm grumpy about it, and the issue is, oh yeah, I should have told them to call TACIS as well. We have the Transatlantic Call-In show where trans people answer calls about trans situations and trans issues and whatnot, including Dr. Ben, who's a motherfucking actual doctor. I mean, nephrologist, so close enough, you know. But tell him I said that. But like, and we have people who actually can take these calls in totally different ways. So like, you've got that show, you've got, you know, plenty of biologist hosts here on the line as well. Happy to answer questions, y'all. We have another call and it's about trans identity. So who knew that's what this show is going to be mainly about? Anti-vaxxers not pulling up, unfortunately. As usual, anti-vaxxers love to make noise on threads and love to post dumb shit on Instagram and love to squirm around in YouTube comments and love to tell me that I'm, you know, spreading misinformation about mRNA and 5G and bats and whatever the fuck else. And when the time comes to you know, nut up or shut up, they shut up. Turns out.
Yeah, nothing about no raw milk, no nothing. Just
I wanted a goddamn seed oil call.
Me
That's
too.
what I wanted.
I wanted to talk about the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio because that myth needs to die in a cold, dark hole with no friends.
I wanted the seed oil calls because it's not an area that I'm super well versed in. And you're here, and I was like, this would be the time to take some seed oil call. I can do vaccine calls, no problem. Raw milk calls, no problem. I wanted seed oils, and I wanted carnivore diets and paleo diet and whatever other dumbass thing Joe Rogan farted out today. I wanted that call, and we didn't get any of them. And lines are still open. 720-619-2288. We might still get one. Who knows? We've had this person calling in 4 times about bioessentialist basis of religiosity and personality traits. That person's called in and hung up a bunch. Probably not going to get to that one.
I'll say this is kind of interesting because on YouTube specifically, I've gotten multiple people to make videos on me. Extremely condescending videos on me, and yet no one's here. And
you're a woman in STEM. That's just gonna happen.
Oh man, it's so bad. There's this one dude who made like 3 hours worth of content on me. 3 hours.
Standing for
Separate
truth.
videos.
Standing for Truth once made a, I think, 45-minute video on me critiquing a less than 1 minute TikTok that I made about mitochondrial Eve because they wanted me to talk about proven creationism. You know what I want to talk to? I want to talk to a goddamn race realist because I've got a dude who popped up in my comment section recently talking about how he is an anthropologist and he studies paleoanthropology and a conservative. And so he knows race is real and can prove it. And I was like, hey, that's really fucking dumb. And he's like, you're calling Darwin dumb because Darwin believed in racism. I'm like, yeah, that was fucking dumb. And it's like, what are we doing? It's like, I want that call, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I was very looking forward to this. I felt, well, I'm still looking, yeah, very fun actually. It's very nice to get so many pleasant calls. Usually on TikTok, it's like the wild, wild west. I'm kind of surprised because there were so many, there's so many comments on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's so many. So I'm very surprised that there's like no call-ins, at least on that topic.
We've got, at least because we've got people waiting. We have one person in the queue right now. We have 2 people in the call and the call-in screening thing. So we've got plenty of calls. I'm not worried about that. It's just like it's always like the true spice that goes away. And the people, the one thing I notice about and fans of the channel will see this all the time in our comment sections. Science deniers have a really hard time differentiating between the concepts of can't and won't. And so they will challenge you to debate in a comment section. And when you say, I'm not talking about this with you because you're dumb as all shit, or when we say, here's the phone number, call in next week, they will then interpret that deliberately as, so you can't defend this. You have no, you can't take me in an argument. Otherwise, you would do it right here and right now in the way that I like and agree to everything I say. Every time we open a show, it twernt happen. But for right now, I'm down to talk to the next call if you are, and we'll wait and see if anybody wants to jump in. Let's talk to Marcia, calling in from as an atheist who wants to talk about whether or not people will be upset by the way that she explains trans identity. So I guess we're just going to be doing an internal critique of language here. Marcia, you were on the line with Forrest and Ella. How you doing today?
Hey, so I've explained to you before. Of course, you probably won't remember, but basically, I try to explain it in a way that it balances out to something like, there before the grace of God go I. In other words, any one of us could have these different things happen to us, and that we should view it as just something that happens during the birth. Things happen. And when I explain it that way, people seem to have a better response in terms of, oh, it's just something natural that happened. But you guys told me that it wasn't what trans is. And so I just feel bad using it now. Should I explain a little bit of what it is to remind you?
I talk to so many people, that does not narrow it down. I've had that conversation 5 times. So like, but if you wanted to jump into a specific thing that you want to talk about, I'm down.
Oh, I thought I had. Okay. So when I explain transness, apparently it's more what intersex is. So if you imagine a multiplication table, right? And across the top, you got 2 through 12, and on the side, your factors. And I say that the factors are the time that the information about whether you're going to be male or female supposed to come in around the 3rd month. So across the top would be the months. And then I don't know how much, but I'm assuming there's an amount of this chemical, and that's along the side. And I say, everybody is not going to get their stuff at 3 months 5 milligrams. Some people are not going to get their stuff until the 5th month of pregnancy, and they might only get 2 milligrams. But some people might get their stuff at 1 month, and they might get 8 milligrams. You know, so we're all going to come out different. That's how I explain it to people.
I mean, in terms of sexual development, that's not a terrible way of talking about, but that has nothing to do with gender identity.
Well, okay. Well, one other thing I wanted to know, if you could ask, do you guys know Cara Santa Maria? She made a website that has the like, if you say, is this a cat or is this a dog, and you can't really tell because it's morphing into the next animal. And
no, I'm sorry,
have
I don't
never
know
been
what you're
able to
talking
get
about.
that website. Oh, shoot. Somebody's got, Aaron Ra knows. Somebody get that website. And also, we can give responses to the people who call in the comments. So if you want to tell people that, that's a help too. I don't understand what's wrong with my idea about explaining trans. I just don't understand it. Maybe I don't understand what
The
trans
issue
is.
you're just so being trans means that your gender identity is incongruent with your assigned sex. So when you're born, a doctor takes a casual glance at your giblets and writes a letter on a piece of paper, and then that's what we decide your sex is. And so if they write an F or they write an M, and then you grow up a little bit and you come to terms with yourself and you realize, actually, I'm leaning this way. You know, the doctor assigned me male. You expected me to be a boy. Turns out I'm actually a girl. That's what it is to be trans. So, like, development, as far as we know, isn't a thing here. We're not talking about genitals. We're not talking about, internal genitalia. We're not talking about hormones. We're not talking about any of those the parts of development that go into all these things. Not really the conversation we're having. We're talking about your gender identity, how you perceive yourself, how you make sense of your own sexual characteristics, whatever, and whether or not that aligns with the cultural expectation of your sex assigned at birth. That's it. So describing it in terms of development really wouldn't work.
And none of that comes from how you developed?
Not that we know of. It's not impossible, but we don't have any reason to think so far. You can compare it if you'd like to like sexuality. Like, there is some good evidence that there's a genetic component to sexuality. However, we don't have a clear-cut thing that says this is the gay gene, or gay people have this developmental disorder, or whatever other thing like that. Just that isn't how it works. It just appears to be you were either born gay or you're born not gay. Same thing here. You were born trans or not.
Okay. All right, well, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ella, anything else to add on to the end of that?
I'm going to be honest.
Right?
I feel like it's just a bunch of definitional stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think that a lot of people are in large disagreements. There's a few misunderstandings, which is nice to see. I actually like that there's people on here who are willing to change their minds. I'm used to speaking to people who are vehemently disagreeing with everything. So it's
me too. Me too. It's a weird show, I'll tell you. Lines are still open, and we've had so many the call queue keeps I don't know what's going on, if there's a connection issue on Call-In Studio's side or what. We tested it before the show. We didn't have any problems. We do our usual checks and everything. As far as I know, everything's good over here. But we are getting more people than usual who pop up in the queue and don't even make it to the screening room, or if they do get in the screening room, they just drop after a minute. So we will see. Let's talk to Bran, calling in from the frozen hellscape that is Canada, who wants to talk about life after death and eternal consciousness. Bran, you're on the line with Forrest and Ella. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
I'm all right.
Hey, so I heard you guys were complaining about having too many pleasant calls and people agreeing with you.
Yeah. Are you calling in to be
so,
a
like,
petulant turd and to argue? I hope so.
Unfortunately, I love everything you said about trans. I love evolution and vaccines and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna give you the most batshit. I'm gonna give you the most batshit position that I can honestly defend.
Okay, as long as it's a thing that you believe, I'm into it.
Yeah, no, I'm. It's not something that I'm dogmatic about, but it's something that I will seriously defend. And
Okay.
it's completely batshit, basically.
I mean, bad sign that you believe a thing that you think is batshit, but like, hey, man, let's go into it.
Yeah. No. So, like, as far as science can tell, the universe seems to be essentially infinite. We don't think there's an end to space, as far as we can tell. As far as we know, the universe just goes on and on forever. So there's an infinite number of stars, or there could be an infinite number of stars. If it's really infinite, you think about what infinity really means. Infinity means that there's an infinite number of people who are just like you.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you ask, who am I? Right? Because you think I am this one particular body, I am this one particular brain. But actually, you are all the set of all of the people in the multiverse or the infinite universe. You are this infinite number of conscious beings that look exactly like you.
Wait. There's no evidence of a multiverse. There is no.
I'm willing. I also have an issue here because I'm not a physicist or a cosmologist or an astronomer or anything, so I don't know. I know this is a way of looking at this. I don't know if any of this is actually true so far. I'm willing to accept it for the sake of argument, just to get into the strangeness, though.
Yeah. No, it's not a proven fact, but as there's no evidence that the universe isn't infinite. There's no evidence that there's any kind of limit to the universe as far as physics has discovered.
Wait.
There's lots of evidence that the multiverse is a live hypothesis that's on the table.
No, it's not.
Many physicists.
It's not. I have
You don't think?
I have two friends who are actively in physics. And they talk about this on a daily basis with me because I'm actually very interested in this. But infinity doesn't mean infinite number of plausible scenarios of an individual. Infinity can just mean that there is an infinite amount of space. And when physicists refer to the universe being infinite, they're referring to it as having an infinite amount of space, not an infinite number of different possibilities with the same individuals and the same scenarios. Those are two very different concepts, and there is absolutely no evidence to suggest that there are an infinite number of the same people in different scenarios. Maybe there's an infinite number of different worlds with different people. That would fit in the understanding of the infinite, but there would not be any evidence to suggest that those different people are the same kinds of people that exist on our universe and are just experiencing different experiences. You would have to provide actual evidence of the experience part, because you're assuming that there's an infinite number of the same people with different specific experiences.
I think if the thing there's so what infinity means, like there's an infinite number of numbers between 0 and 1.
But one is not different. One is not the same number, but in different shapes. If that makes sense.
Right?
One is still one.
We fail to really understand what infinity actually implies. Like if the universe truly is infinite and there's an infinite number of stars, if there's an infinite number of different star systems, then there's an infinite number of planets that are almost exactly like the Earth we live on. There's
no evidence of that, though.
Well,
there's no evidence of that. You could have an infinite number of Earth-like planets. That doesn't mean there's an infinite number of Earths.
I want to see where it goes. I'll be like, because I'm on the same page as Ella here. I think that if is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, but I'm interested to see where it goes. So, like, let's say for a second that, like, okay, yes, there's an infinite number of planets exactly like Earth and an infinite number of people exactly like me, each one of them with one tiny difference between them. I turned left in that planet where I turned right on this planet. I you know, on this planet I had a burger, on that planet I had a taco, and then the you know, probability branched off from that moment, blah, blah, blah. Where does this get us? Where are we going with it? I'm here for the ride.
Well, you start to think, well, I'm not actually this one individual organism. I'm actually like this whole set of different conscious experiences happening all over the multiverse. And so what do I mean when I say that I'm going to die someday? Because there's going to be copies of me somewhere.
You're defining infinite as an infinite number of possibilities, but with constraints, because you're assuming that this infinite number of possibilities constrains the fact that you are still you in all of these other planets. So even if I grant the understanding that there is multiple universes with multiple Earths with multiple people, there is nothing to suggest that those multiple people are you or versions of you.
Right.
So when you're saying that there's an infinite number of possibilities, you're literally saying it's infinity, but with constraints, meaning that there's another set of rules that you would have to provide evidence for, which you have yet to provide any evidence for. And additionally, there's no evidence of multiple universes. And if there were evidence of multiple universes, we would be able to come up with the probability of a universe being created, i.e., we would be able to use either the frequentist definition, the propensity definition, or the, what is it called? The Bayesian probability definition of like how probable something is, and yet we don't have multiple universes. So you can't say that it is probable that there are multiple universes because there's no evidence of it.
I think you could even boil this down simpler if you were to just say, like, you know, I invent a cloning machine that is a perfect copy machine of you as you are right now. It doesn't even have to grow and gestate or anything like that. It's just it scans you and it farts out a new version of you. And I do that 10 bazillion times. And so now on this planet, you know, we have 8 million copies of you right now. I don't think that would mean that you then today would be comfortable dying because all these other yous are still around. Because at the end of the day, your subjective experience is still you. So even if we were to grant that there's all these different things that are you all throughout one world or infinite worlds, that I don't know how that gets you to then saying, I exist everywhere, so what even is death? Like, that doesn't matter. Those are still different creatures with different identities and different experiences, and not me.
Well, think about this. Every time you go to sleep and then wake up, how do you know you're in the same universe as you remember being in before? Right? It seems like you're in the same universe.
So I know that I'm in the same universe because I can basically take a break in the middle of my experiment, come back, and it's still in the exact same place that it was. And I can do this every single day of my life and observe every single thing in the same place that it was. And the only time that it's not in the same place that it was is when another person touches it. And usually what happens is if maybe I have a conversation with this person and I say, hey, can you move this while I'm asleep? And they move it. Well, what do you know? I know exactly where it's placed because I told them to move it to a certain place. It's basically my subjective experience in this world and the ability to go to sleep and wake up and find things the same way. That's how I know that it's the same. I mean, if it wasn't, then I wouldn't be conducting my Western Blot today because I actually let it go over the weekend. So
maybe it would be a good thing for that reason. No, and what I also like, that would entail, if that was a thing, that would entail that my mind was able to essentially astral project between bodies in different universes, and there's no mechanism by which I could imagine such a thing happening. I have no evidence of a mind existing external of matter or independent of matter, so I don't think that's even possible in the outset. Well, then what do you mean? Like, do you think I teleport in my sleep to another universe, my physical body, or like what?
No, I'm saying that, you just have memories that you were this person yesterday, But right, how do you know that's real? Right,
So
this
it's
is
not
just last.
memory.
This is last
and then
Tuesday.
you wake up with memories of what happened before. But
this is
maybe
last
those memories
Tuesdayism.
were like in a different
The
universe.
belief. This is last Tuesdayism, which is the assertion, like, how do you know that the entire universe didn't come into existence last Tuesday, and your entire reality, all your memories, and everything were pre-encoded, just like all this was just popped into existence in this state, that, and your hippocampus, it popped into existence in the state of possessing the memories, and like that. There's at this point you get to Hitchens' razor. What you can assert this without evidence, so you can dismiss it without evidence too. There's no reason to consider this.
No,
it's an unfalsifiable claim.
Reply.
Also, what about
so this is called the
tests?
Boltzmann brain problem.
What about sleep apnea tests, where we're like testing for like activity when you're asleep? Like, would these tests would quite literally be able to capture somebody disappearing and then coming back into existence, whether it be their hippocampus or not. So measuring brain activity when somebody's asleep, all of the studies that have been conducted on sleep and brain activity, specifically like REM, are they just fake?
Oh no, I'm not suggesting that anything supernatural is going on or that there's any kind of non-corporeal soul.
And there's no evidence of it.
Well, there isn't the kind of evidence that the kind of evidence that there is. it's really low probability, high impact evidence.
There's no. So that's not that's not really a term we use in statistics. But two, there's literally no evidence of it. Like, we've measured people's brain activity when they're asleep. There's not a giant gap. Like, it's not as though they completely disappear from existence.
There wouldn't be a gap. I'm not suggesting there should be a gap.
Yes, there would be if you're disappearing, if your hippocampus is disappearing and going into another universe. There 100%.
That doesn't happen.
Okay, so then you're not astral projecting into another universe.
No, I never said anyone was doing anything like that.
You certainly suggested it.
I just said that there's just many people that are like you, and we have this concept of the self. But you think that yourself is pointing to this one organism, but there's all these organisms throughout the multiverse who think that they are the real Forrest Valkai, or and so like, which one is right?
Well, no, there's still no evidence of this. Like, there's not even evidence that we're able to like transmit our consciousness into this other quote unquote self, even if I were to grant that's true, which, by the way, there's still no evidence for that. And also,
I'm not suggesting anything supernatural is going on at all. I completely reject that.
So what were you talking about when you said, like, how do you know that when you go to sleep you're not like disappearing into another universe?
I'm just trying to illustrate the point that if the universe is really, really big and there are like clones of you, my thinking about it just kind of breaks down and I get confused.
That just skips what I just asked you, which is, why did you say that? How do you know that when you go to sleep you're waking up in the same universe? Why did you say that if you don't even believe that your consciousness can jump to other universes in the first place?
It's not that your consciousness is jumping. It's just that maybe your memories are false, and you're confabulating, or you're thinking about something that didn't really happen.
Where's the evidence of this?
It's not. It's more that I can't disprove it, and it kind of keeps me awake at night sometimes. And,
well, then we can dismiss everything you just said because you have no evidence of it.
You wanted a back.
If there were evidence of this, if there was evidence of this, then me going to bed and then waking up and then putting my Western blot into some secondary, that just would not be true because I wouldn't be able to put it in secondary because it wouldn't exist if I was popping between universes. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Oh. No,
I feel like the biggest thing here
change.
is the word "if" is doing all of the work for you here. And I feel like you're presenting us with a bunch of unfalsifiable claims that can neither be proved wrong or right, and saying this keeps you up at night because what if it's a thing? And you could do that all day long. You could do that with us living in a computer simulation. You could do this with you being a brain in a vat. You could do this with you being in an insane asylum, imagining this conversation right now. You could do this with any number of different other unfalsifiable things.
Yeah.
You're just picking the ones that sound the most reasonable to you.
My ultimate defense for that is you start with one simple premise that the universe is truly infinite. When I mean like truly infinite, I mean infinite. Like there's infinite number of planets.
But your definition of infinite is infinite with constraints, as I mentioned before. Your version of infinity is not actually infinite. It's infinite with constraints, meaning that it's the same people on the same planets. That's not infinite. That's duplication.
No, if I so there are different cardinalities of infinity, and there's multiple different infinite sets. So there's the set of all real numbers, right? But then there's also just this infinite set of numbers between 0 and 1.
So as I said, it's infinite with constraints. You're either doing infinity as in the full number spectrum or infinity between 0 and 1. You're making it infinite with constraints, meaning you're not actually defining things as infinity.
Some infinities are bigger than other infinities and shit.
Let me finish my thing. I'm just saying that I start with a simple premise. I ask, what if the universe is infinite? And then I think, what follows from that? What can I reason about given that premise? And it's like, I have no fucking idea. It's crazy.
It's again, your entire argument is if. And so like, I encourage you to date if, right? And if lots of things. And that's neat. But like at the end of the day, I don't know of any, like Ella's mentioned she has a couple of friends who are physicists. We have a few hosts on this channel that are physicists that I know personally because of this work. And like, nobody on this call at this moment has any meaningful training in physics. I have like a couple undergrad classes in it. And I don't know of any physicists, nor do I know of any lessons in physics, nor do I have any textbooks in physics behind me that mention the kind of infinity that you are talking about here. So is it possible? I guess insofar as anything is, maybe. But like, I'm not compelled by this argument to a point where it would keep me up at night the way that it is for you. And I don't think it should be for you either.
I'd also mention that like most physics textbooks refer to the universe as being like quantifiably infinite, like infinite in not experiences, just infinite in numbers and like space. Not entirely in the sense that we're talking about like multiverse saga type stuff. I feel like that's derived from things like the Marvel universe, which is not physics.
Yeah, I would call Dr. Blitz or Dr. Adair, both of whom are PhD physicists who are hosts on this channel. And they might have more to dig into. I know also Blitz does his own live streaming on his own channel and also on TikTok quite a bit. So one of them might be able to dig into it a little bit better than either one of us could. But as of right now, I appreciate you taking the time to try to explain it to us. But we're going to move on to a vaccine call. And I appreciate your time,
You wanted batshit crazy. So, I love you guys. I love vaccines. I love trans people. I love evolution.
Hell yeah.
So,
hell yeah.
You guys have a good night.
Have a good night.
Take care, Bran. Bye-bye. Let's jump right in. Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say Quantinaut, another fantastic physicist.
All right. Yeah. Let's talk to Hannah, who called in wanting to talk about vaccine skepticism. Hannah, you're on the line with Forrest and Ella. How are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you guys?
I'm all right. We were wanting some more combative calls. Can you call me a name real quick? Tell me I'm an idiot.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't do that. I'm too much of a fan, honestly.
Oh,
Yeah, I
just
like
need
both
somebody
of you
to be
guys.
spicy. All right.
I don't know. I like when the calls are nice and loving too. You know, there's a lot of negative calls when people just don't want to hear anything. But I just want to say, like, I'm a pretty big fan of you, Forrest, and Ella. I actually came across your Instagram recently, and I've been following you. So I think you guys both do really awesome work, and I'm a trans woman, and I just want to say, Forrest, like, your calls have helped me a lot on my journey in accepting myself and just figuring things out. But I don't want to go on too long. I want to get to the topic.
And thank you to the people in chat who are currently berating me. I appreciate that. Thank you for making the show more interesting, more exciting.
Oh man.
Anyway, go ahead, Hannah. What's your questions about vaccines?
Okay, so just to, like, let you know where I'm coming from, basically, like, I was raised in a family that is, you know, like, pretty anti any Western medicine. They just, I mean, like, my dad's a chiropractor, but that's like a kind of a separate conversation. But basically, like, my family has just believed in sort of like a almost religious attitude or way that, like, you know, just any Western medicine is like a scam and, you know, like a plot to just keep people sick. So that big pharma can, like, just keep profiting off of everybody. And I think there might be some truth to that in some regards. I'm not sure how you guys feel about all that. But, like, my main thing is that I've, you know, been raised with, like, this almost religious anti-vax, anti-pharmaceutical mindset, and through, like, my deconstruction and just other things in life and understanding different things and getting different perspectives, I've, you know, come to understand that, you know, probably everything my parents have taught me is not fully true, and, you know, they may be misled and stuff like that.
In there,
so
girl.
I just really wanted
In there.
yeah. I just wanted to, like, I don't know. I really wanted to ask, and I don't want to, like, use you guys as Google too much, but at the same time, like, I feel like it's really hard for me to get, like, reliable information or know what is reliable information, like stuff I can even talk to with my parents and present to them. Just because, you know, like, I just feel like there's so much misinformation nowadays, especially about medical stuff. You know, you guys were talking about seed oils. I literally just, like, went on a whole thing the other night, like, looking to figure out the whole seed oil thing. But I mean, yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I don't want to keep on.
I'm sure
ranting,
Ella will have
but
nothing to say about this.
The seed oil part or the Western medicine part?
The whole thing, dude.
Okay, so first part, I've been taking a little bit of notes. I just wanted to bring up the first part, which is that there is no real such thing as Eastern versus Western medicine anymore. There are plenty of individuals who are from the East. In fact, multiple people in my cohort are actually immigrants from Eastern countries like China and Korea. And there is no such thing as Eastern medicine. It is just literal medicine. That is it. And I can provide you with a few specific examples. The first example I'd like to give is probably the oldest, willow tree, which it's a compound called salicylin. And in aspirin, it's just a more isolated form of that is more that is more capable of interacting with your body to reduce pain. I don't want to get into the mechanistics because I feel like that would that would go into a whole other tangent. But additionally, specifically in my field, or at least the field that I'm trying to get into, there is a specific compound known as paclitaxel. And typically in pancreatic cancer patients, a form of paclitaxel known as nab-paclitaxel is combined with something called gemcitabine, which is another cancer medication, and both of these medications are used as first-line treatment for pancreatic cancer. Now, paclitaxel was actually used by many Native Americans and very, very far back as tea for individuals who had metastatic cancer. It wasn't as effective, and in fact, paclitaxel is toxic. It can quite literally kill you because it's not something without good dosing. You can very easily basically become very sick and die from it. So, what Western medicine or what medicine has done is it has isolated the compounds that help to kill off cancer cells from this tree bark that paclitaxel comes from and made it safer. And I think that it's very important to recognize that a lot of what medicine does is it just isolates compounds from nature, puts them into a special little capsule, and makes it so that way it's not going to completely kill you. Now, as far as like things like seed oils, artificial sweeteners, and various other compounds and things in like food go, I just want to mention that just because something is processed doesn't necessarily make it inherently unhealthy. It's always dose makes the poison when it comes to caloric containing foods that actually have nutrition. When we're talking about alcohol, that's a different story because it actually doesn't provide you with any nutrition. But when we're talking about things like seed oils, which actually provide essential fatty acids that you need to stay alive, like omega-6 fatty acids, when we're talking about things like soy, which can provide you with a complete plant-based protein that does not have saturated fat or cholesterol, which can increase your risk of heart disease and colon cancer. And then when we're also talking about things like artificial sweeteners, which can help you lose weight just as effectively, if not more effectively, than consuming water. I think it's really important to recognize nuance as well as dose. A lot of individuals who are anti-seed oil, anti-artificial sweetener, anti-soy love to cite rat studies where they're being forced to consume or even injected far more than what we consume on a daily basis, hundreds of times more. In fact, most of the popularized studies on rats specifically, I'm sure if anybody has seen this study, at least in TikTok, you've got that sucralose 6 acetate study from a few years back. And that study specifically was in rats. And if you were to convert that dose into humans, you would have to consume over 8,000 cans of Diet Coke to get to that part where you're extremely sick and potentially getting cancer. And even that study wasn't even on sucralose itself, but rather a byproduct of the process. So, like, when we're talking about all of these different things, we need to come to it with a very nuanced standpoint as well as from a human standpoint, where how much are you actually consuming, what is actually relevant in regards to public health, and then also with medication specifically, what is this medication actually acting on? Because you really need to understand the pathway, not necessarily, oh, this medication sounds very fancy, so I think it's scary. It's actually very specific purpose, and a lot of these medications actually come from nature.
Cool. Yeah. No. That was super helpful explanation. One thing that came up for me when you were talking about the studies is I was just wondering because I've noticed this. Like, what's like the deal with certain studies and like the dosing being like what's even the point of some of these studies if they're like putting them, you know, injecting rats with like super high doses? That like how is that even like relevant to like study, I guess?
It's just to figure out what the LD50 is.
Yeah,
and like what this actually looks like.
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
There's the LD50, and then there's also not all scientists are good scientists, which I think it's really important why we need science literacy. There was a scientist a while back who, actually a professor, at the very beginning of my undergrad when I first learned how to read literature, I read through his paper, and he tried to claim that red 40 causes colon cancer because he gave it to a mouse model that was genetically modified to get colon cancer. And then he was also feeding that colon cancer predisposed mouse model a high fat diet, which is also known to cause colon cancer, and then claimed that it was the red 40. So you have several confounding variables that were in that model specifically, where you can't really associate the red 40 with the colon cancer when three other variables are in that mouse model that are potentially causing colon cancer and are much more likely to cause colon cancer based off of prior literature. So there's also scientists who are just wanting to have that social media recognition, and scientists that are just purely on social media to get that acknowledgement, not necessarily because they're a good scientist, but oh well, if RFK Jr. slides me a hot 50, then I'll definitely make this study for him. And that's some scientists. It's not the majority. The majority of us are very quiet. The majority of us just like to kind of do our own thing and read literature, which is why you don't see many of these media grab studies all that often. You maybe see them once or twice a year and they get really, really viral, but they're really bad pieces of science. So I think it's important to recognize that every month there's thousands of papers that get published. I remember when it first turned 2026, there were like over 100 different papers that I saw when I isolated on PubMed just at 2026. And yet only one like paper out of all of those ever really gets viral on social media. And it's usually because it's this attention grabby, poorly conducted piece of literature.
Gotcha.
Everything Ella just said under her breath the whole time was just saying Andrew Wakefield, Andrew Wakefield, Andrew Wakefield, Andrew Wakefield, by the way, the whole time.
Andrew,
Sorry, what was that?
Andrew Wakefield.
Oh.
He's the piece of shit who is the reason why we have so many anti-vaxxers right now. Because he was, if I'm summarizing here, he was a part of a lawsuit where some people were claiming that vaccines caused autism. So he did a fraudulent study claiming vaccines cause autism. And it was a super legitimate study because he released the findings to the lawyer before he published them for peer review. That's what you do as a scientist. And now everybody else on that study has had to spend their entire career begging people to stop reminding them that they were ever at one point associated with Andrew Wakefield, and he was stripped of his medical license and everything else, and he's now that's his whole job now, is to go around and tell everybody that the institutions that gave him his credibility are all corrupt and untrustworthy because the things that he studied one time are all evil. Great guy.
Yeah, and I just wanted to also mention that usually under every single scientific article, there is the funding sources. So if you're ever curious about for example, seed oil literature, artificial sweetener literature, you can literally just see whether there's a conflict of interest. And if they do find a pertinent conflict of interest and the study does seem biased based off of peer review, usually it gets retracted. And there have been numerous studies that are social media grabs that have been retracted. There's a very recent one on specifically the COVID vaccine where they were trying to claim that the COVID vaccine was killing a bunch of people. But they took these individuals from the morgue. They didn't actually have it confirmed that they received the vaccine. And the article got quickly retracted and then published in a predatory journal. So yeah, it's really important to not only understand how to interpret literature, but also understand that funding bodies don't mean everything, but if you are curious, it's still there. It's not something that's hush hush. Oh yeah, this study's funded by big pharma. No, it literally will say it. And then studies that are not funded by pharmaceutical industry and industry science, that's usually a part of academia, and it's all of our tax dollars that goes towards it through the government. So yeah.
But I mean, studies that are funded by big pharmaceutical companies, they can still be legitimate, right?
Yeah, of course. That's why I said
are they likely? Okay.
Yeah.
But they will have to
Gotcha.
they will have to declare
Just
that
checking.
in their there will be a statement at the end about like funding and everything. It kind of like clears up those conflict of interest concerns. They should declare that in the study, so you can even know if you want to be skeptical about it.
Exactly, but I think the main thing is to look at the methodology, because that one Red 40 scientist I was talking about earlier, he was actually in academia. So it is very important to just look at the methodology, and if you can critically analyze it, that's the best way you can get around to understanding whether a study is biased or not.
Sounds good.
Right on. Well, Hannah, if you have anything else for us, we'd love to answer it now. Otherwise, that was our last call, and we're going to move on to Super Chats.
I mean, I guess I do want to, like, talk a little bit more specifically about vaccines. Like, if...
Sure.
Unless, like... I don't know, like, what are your guys' thoughts and stuff? You know, because, like, I don't know. I've just literally been, like, told my whole life, like, you know, this is wrong, and I guess, like, that you don't need them, and, like, in order, I guess, like, one way to, like, maybe satisfy your combative want for is, like, I don't know. I feel like there's more nuance to this, but, like, I, like, have only gotten, like, one vaccine my whole life, and I'm one of the more healthy people, but I do understand, I think, that, like, you know, there's more that goes into it, you know, like, and probably the fact that other people are taking vaccines and getting some sort of herd immunity, like, has protected me without me knowing. Yeah, those are just some of my thoughts on that, I guess.
Yeah.
Mind if I ask which vaccine you got?
It was a tetanus vaccine because I was cut by an ice skate and had to get stitches, and that was the one vaccine my mom, like, allowed because she was, like, really scared.
Well, good choice.
Yeah.
That's a good vaccine to get. Tetanus vaccines are delicious.
So I'm going to ask you a question just to kind of help you through understanding why vaccines are good. Do you think that cancer is bad?
Good start. Good start.
Yeah.
All right. So do you know one of the primary causes of oral and throat cancer as well as cervical cancer, or one of the main causes in the past? Are you familiar with any of these, like any of the causes of these?
I'm not sure. For some reason, I want to say hepatitis, but I don't know if that is even related.
That would be liver cancer, but that's also another one I could bring up. But the cancers that HPV can cause are oropharyngeal cancer, cervical cancer, rectal cancer. There's a whole handful of them. And according to one study on the HPV vaccine, there were no incidences of cancer in individuals who received this vaccine early enough in their lifetime. If you want the public medical identification number, I can provide it to you. But this study was on just looking for the sample size here. Basically, women born between January 1st, 1988 and June 5th, 1996. And they don't have the actual sample size on here, so now I have to click on the link. Sample size, please. Awkward silence because I can't find the sample size. Oh my God.
That's okay. Dead air is great. People love dead air.
Alrighty.
So how are you, Hannah?
I'm doing good. I'm really enjoying this. I've watched the line for a long time, and I'm a little nervous, Colin, but this is exciting, and it's like really cool to talk to you.
Nothing to be nervous about. Ella is super chill, and I'm fucking stupid. You got an easy call today.
So there were 2 cohorts that completed their vaccines. There was one with 134,299 people. There were 754,122 people. Obviously, there's some There's some decimal points because it was like there's also a range too with the follow-ups. And so based off of this study, and the PMID is 382,475,47, there were no incidences of cervical cancer in those who got 1 or 2 doses 1 month apart. It was 12 or 13 immunized at 12 or 13 years of age, irrespective of the number of doses. And so this is essentially a cancer vaccine. Is that what I'm trying to get at after all this long, crazy amounts? It's essentially a cancer vaccine. And that's just one vaccine. This is not even talking about the hepatitis B vaccine, which, as you mentioned, also would help to prevent liver cancer. And then there's also, for example, the polio vaccine, which prevents people from being locked up in an iron lung due to paralysis. And then there's I could go on forever. And then even with the more recent COVID-19 vaccine, all it's really doing is it's mimicking the response of your body to the virus without the virus actually infecting your cells. Because when there is a virus present in your immune system, your immune cells have to make mRNA to show the proteins that the virus presents to other cells so they can recognize the virus and kill it off. Now, all you're doing with the COVID-19 vaccine is you're skipping the part where the virus infects a bunch of cells, makes those cells die, and then the immune cells take up the proteins and the mRNA from that virus and then use it to show it to other cells. You're just skipping over that part of a ton of cell death to show your immune cells, hey, if you see this virus around, make sure you kill it. And I think that's very beneficial, and it's been basically demonstrated that specifically heart inflammation is less severe in those who got vaccinated versus the very rare few out of a million who have the quote-unquote side effect of myocarditis. And I say that with a grain of salt because it's very temporary and it's not as severe as viral myocarditis that is actually associated with the virus. So with all of these viruses that I just presented with you, they cause cancer, they cause paralysis, they cause heart inflammation, and a vaccine could prevent it all. So that's where I think that vaccines are not dangerous because I've read up on it. And I think that knowledge in this sense is power because you can understand what the vaccine is doing versus what the virus is doing and why the vaccine is a better choice.
That's the biggest thing for me is like I feel like the anti-vax arguments, they come from this place of I say the word ignorance, and I know that can be really triggering and kind of sounds combative, but like people are able to make people are able to make anti-vax arguments because they don't understand what life is like without vaccines. Like you mentioned earlier on, you've only ever gotten the one, but you acknowledge that you probably have been protected by from a lot of diseases because of the herd immunity, because of the people around you. And like people who talk about vaccines being so deadly and so dangerous and so many injuries and all these problems, they never had to live in a world where polio and smallpox and mumps and rubella and measles and all these other things were sweeping through their population and killing mainly children and elderly people, and just it was so avoidable. It was so easy to make that not happen. One of the earliest records we have of, it might be the earliest record we have of tetanus is from fucking Hippocrates, way back, ancient Greek dude, right? Inventing what we would consider modern medicine today through experimentation and study, describing tetanus. I guarantee if we had a vaccine there, it would not be a controversial thing because this is a horrific disease, a really fucked up way to die, and we can just be done with it. It's over now. Same thing, go back to early America. We could get rid of smallpox. It's just done now. I don't think there's going to be this fight. And so I think the reason why vaccine hesitancy and anti-vax sentiment has been able to make such a major resurgence in the past couple of years is because the major testing ground for it was COVID, which, as anti-vaxxers love to mention, has a very high, 96, 98% survival rate. Ignoring the fact that surviving doesn't mean thriving, doesn't mean that you don't have damage, doesn't mean you don't have lifelong disability, doesn't mean you don't have long COVID. It just means you didn't die yet, right? And this is a thing that they're able to say, my uncle's grandma's dog's mailman's best friend's cousin got it and was fine, and therefore I know I'll be fine too. And they don't have to worry about real ramifications of real disease like Ella's talking about here, where there are secondary issues, there are comorbidities, there are confounding variables, there are increased cancer risks, there's all of this other shit that gets piled on top of it, not to mention outright mortality. And that's why this movement, these talking points, this rationality, this belief that plays into the maha bullshit we see is ultimately it's just eugenics in a cheap lab coat saying, oh, well, the old people are going to die and the young people are going to die and the immunocompromised are going to die and the disabled are going to die. But fuck them, because most people are going to be pretty all right. And we don't have to live in a world with rampant fucking polio and smallpox and shit because we already got saved. The vaccines they already did the hard work. They already made a society that's, we're capable of living in. So just fuck everybody else, And it just donks, dude. It donks. And while Ella was talking, I drew this little guy. He says, vaxxed and relaxed. And I hope, Hannah, that you will be too, because you should be, because it's good for you and it's good for your society.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I totally appreciate everything you guys are saying. It's just there's a lot of social pressure from mostly my mother about it's it's already bad enough that I have deconstructed Catholicism and I've come out as trans and stuff, and it's just very emotionally charged, I guess, unfortunately. And that's partly why I wanted to ask too. One of my things in the beginning was talking about how what are the best sources to find this information, and how can I present this? I know you would probably say PubMed is one of the number one things, but also and I think scientific literacy is really important, and I want to be more scientifically literate, and I'm working on that, but at the same time, a lot of people, and I think that's a big reason why this misinformation can be so rampant, is most people are not willing to take the time to read studies and understand methodology and try to actually understand things that they're talking about, and they just hear somebody say it and they start parroting it because it sounds good,
It's not even taking the time to do so. Ella mentioned earlier on when she was learning to read scientific literature. And I remember that time as well when I was in my undergrad and I took my first ever lit review based course. That wasn't just a lecturer telling you things and you would study in the textbook and it was the first time I ever took a class where they're you're going to read this paper, you're going to come to class next week and discuss it. And I remember that first time I came into class and they were so what was the paper about? And I explained it and they were and is it right? I was what do you mean it's right? It's a paper. They wrote it, it's a scientific, what do you mean, is it right? And they're well, I mean, you notice in the methods section here, they're measuring half a species on this graph. What does that mean? I'm fuck, I don't know what that means. And that wasn't you have to learn how to do that. And so there's a couple of different ways to look at this. The first way is you can take the time, and you should. Everybody in the whole world, I think, should take the time to learn how to read through this stuff. But the real fact of the matter is, it just isn't for everybody. I don't know jack dick about computer engineering or how to build how computers do. I know what RAM is, but I don't know how it works. It's just not my area at all. And so when I have major computer issues, I ask a software engineer. I ask somebody who knows stuff about computer. I ask somebody who knows these things. And it's the same thing here. If I didn't know dick about biomed, I would ask a fucking doctor. And if I was really concerned, I would get a second opinion. And if I really wanted to study it myself, I'd pick up a fucking medical textbook. Like, there are ways to go about this without having to learn how to read primary literature and try to keep up to date with the best new studies on everything. Like, that's a lot, yo. So do that if you want. It's great fun. But if it's just not for you, it's just not for you. Trust the people who dedicate their lives to this shit to know at least a little bit about what they're talking about. And if somebody is on the fringe, if you had a Peter McCullough or whoever the hell else who's out here saying that everybody else is wrong, listen to what other experts in the field are saying about it and try to find a univocal message there that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, people are people and people make mistakes, including scientists, including doctors. But when you have something that you can start to piece together is an academic consensus among experts, and they're all explaining the same thing, you can believe in a great big conspiracy theory if you want, or you can just take the least assumptions here and say people who know what the fuck they're talking about are saying this. I'm not a doctor. I trust these people with my health. The same way that I would trust a geologist who comes up and tells me how this volcano works. I don't know anything about volcanoes. This person studied it for the past 20 years of their life, and they're not saying anything that any other geologists are saying is too crazy. Maybe they're right, and I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to hope I don't die. That's the best I can give you.
Also,
Yeah, I mean, I think that totally makes sense.
Also, I just wanted to mention, I actually grew up with some like vaccine skeptic family members, and it's not easy. It is not easy. I had to debate like family members on dimersal, debate them on aluminum. I had to debate them on the COVID vaccine. I had to debate them on whether or not COVID was a lab made. Like that's ridiculous when you have like pangolin DNA inside the virus. That's a whole other story. But the at the end of the day, like that's the reason why I make the content the way I make my content too. Like I know you said that you just recently found me on Instagram. I always flash up the titles on my videos. So if you want to pause the video and go read the study, try to get a feel for how reading literature works from somebody who you've spoken to or somebody who you kind of trust, even if it's not like, even if like let's say your doctor, if you feel skeptical around your doctor, because I know that it can be really difficult to trust people when the medical system right now is so screwed up and upside down where it's in and out of the doctor's office. You're spending like 10 minutes with your patient and it's not easy. So even if it's like looking at somebody who is in the field of science and pausing their video, looking up the study that they're citing, even if it's from like social media and it's just a cool study, or you're following like STEM and academia YouTubers who like cite literature and just talk about random topics, even if it has nothing to do with vaccines. Learning how to read literature is a lot about learning how to interpret some of the jargon and then making through it enough that you can kind of get an idea of what the study says. So like I actually I do I agree more with what Forrest said about like going with the experts. But if you really want to debate some of your family members on it, or at least try to change their minds for the better, I know I did when I first started, and I was living with some vaccine skeptic family members. It's not the most fun thing in the world trying to debate your family members when you have like an barely undergrad understanding of how things work. Um, but like even once you get used to reading the literature, after a while it starts to get a little easier too.
Cool. Yeah, that's reassuring. And yeah, it's hard because I feel like, that's the thing is like the more I know things, the more I know I don't know anything, and that, you know, everybody, that's the reason why we have subject matter experts and stuff like that. Like, you know, not one person can fully understand every single field of science or everything in the world for that matter, but like I just feel like I need to be able to do that in order to try to like help get some understanding with people like my parents. But I definitely like hear what you guys are saying about reading the studies, and I think that's like, you know, this call has been like super helpful for me, and I just really appreciate you guys.
I appreciate you calling in, and if you remember nothing else, just remember that, you know, you're talking about all these different Eastern and Western and blah blah blah. Alternative medicine that works is just called medicine. So like if you're worried about it, you know, just remember that there are people who study this shit for a living, and they'd find the connections if it was real. And also, I don't know how old you are, but you have doctor-patient privilege. So if you're talking about, oh, you don't want your parents, or there's still a lot of social pressure, whatever, nobody has to know what you're doing in that room. So I encourage you to go have a talk with your doctor about this, and have them, as an expert and as a professional, have her detail it out and have her tell you what's going on. And then if you want to and you're comfortable with it, have her give you any goddamn vaccine you want, and nobody has to know about it but you. That's just what I'm saying. Like I don't know how old you are. I'm assuming you're a grown up, but and if you're not, you will be soon. And even if you aren't, there you go. So as soon as you book that appointment, you go in there, they shut that door. It's between you and that doctor. And if you tell your parents, I had a scratchy throat and I went in there for some throat spray, but in the meantime, you got every goddamn vaccine under the sun, and you have a really weird week with your immune system being flooded with a lot of antigens, and then you're prepped for life, dude, good for you. Have fun with it.
100% agree.
Cool.
That's actually similar to what I did not too long ago. I got HPV, tetanus, HIV, flu, and then in the other arm it was like, what was it? Meningitis or some other crap. Because like just like you, I grew up with a limited vaccine profile. So it's like I got some of the essentials, but I didn't get everything, and I wanted to feel more safe, so I got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're free to do that if you want to. I'm not pressuring you. I think you should, but at the end of the day, have a conversation, an intimate conversation with your doctor, the person who knows your health specifically the most. And nobody has to know besides you and her what you do behind closed doors.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are free, Hannah. You're free. Good day to you now. I will go on to Super Chats, but thank you so much for your call.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Tell me what to do. Hey, everybody. If you like shows like this, why? But we got more of them. Before we jump into Super Chats, I just want to let you know that tomorrow is Chewed Gum with Alyssa and Taylor, if you want to talk about women's issues surrounding religion, or hear some incels call and ask about baby making. That's the show. We got The Hang Up on Wednesday with Matt and Jimmy Snow. If you want to hear two of the major hosts of this channel both trying to have a monologue with every call, but both trying to talk over each other. I love them both. They're great. We've got TACIS, Transatlantic Call-In Show, on Thursday with Ben and Luxander. So if you want to talk about trans issues, if you want to talk about what it means to be trans, if you want to hear trans people talk about trans people, that's your show there. Then next week, we've got the Sunday show with Seth and Promise, two of the kindest people on this channel. And who knows how they're going to handle calls. They're just going to be sweet the whole time. They're just going to kind their way through calls. Then you got the Sunday show After Dark with me and Austin, two goofy, bloviating TikTokers. But to both of us just trying to steal center stage the whole time. It's going to be awful to watch, but it'll be a lot of fun. And then finally, a week from today, SkepTalk with Erica and I. So clear your schedules because we'll be talking for the next 20 hours about evolution. And hopefully we'll find time to get Ella back sometime as well. We'll steal you away from your research, and you can waste time when you could be doing a Western blot here on this fucking channel again.
Anything but doing a Western blot. They're so long. They take so much time. It's
It's
bad.
a whole thing. It's a whole thing, dude.
Oh my God. It's like over 3. Sometimes it's over 3 days, and I love PCR.
No, thank you.
I love PCR.
PCR is tight. PCR I could do all day long and have fun with it.
Yeah.
How do you want to do this? You want to go back and forth, or do you want me to read them all? How do you want to do these?
I'm down to do it any which way you want to do it.
Cool. I'll start with this one. 5 monarchy bucks from Herbie Shine 1312. I hear SS on the Bible Guy show. She's usually on a treadmill. Looking forward to seeing her in person and not just as a disembodied voice. All right.
Yeah, I do a lot of treadmill walking. I try to do my 90 minutes a day to study. So 49.
I'm mad jealous of that.
It's my only way I can study. $49.99 from Darth Willow. Starting bid to support public awareness about science, especially female reproductive biology, which is more misunderstood than evolution and quantum mechanics. The day we realize what endometriosis truly is.
I am in an endocrinology class right now, and we just did the last 2 weeks on female reproductive biology, female hormones, female development, and everything. And literally, we had to cover so many times in class that it became a test question on the exam. Please write a paragraph about why females are so understudied. Why as female reproduction, female development, female biology, female hormone, why do we have so many questions still about this? And there's a million answers. And all of it leads down to stupidity and sexism. That they thought that female roles were always passive in sexual behavior, that they thought that it was just too complicated to study, that they just didn't fucking care. A million things. It's great.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Yep.
If you'd like, go ahead if you want to take this one.
Oh, sure thing.
We'll go back and forth.
$5 from Mystic Mind Analysis. Interesting username. Don't forget, oh no, I'm very bad at pronouncing words.
Tulpamancy?
Tulpamancy?
I'm
Is
guessing.
different. It's similar to DID, which is a real condition which people live with. Don't forget to be kind, folks.
I don't know what tulpamancy is, and I'm guessing that's a dissociative identity disorder, and I don't know if that's real either. I don't actually remember what but apparently this person says, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a goofy little integrative biologist who has too much time on the internet.
Tulpamancy is when you have an imaginary friend.
You don't know what things are.
I mean, I Googled it.
$5 from Joshua Everett. Even if the human mind were completely dualistic and were proven as such, what reason would we have to assume it's not a physical process of the brain? That's all I'm talking about. Like we can even dig into stuff like the whole gut brain and whatever else. And like, I still have a physicalist assessment. I don't know. That was a whole weird thing.
That was so weird. That conversation confused me so much.
Yeah. It was a weird way to start the show.
$4.99 from Simeon Nurshin. Simeon
Urchin? Like a sea urchin that's also a monkey?
Yeah, I have no idea. 7:30. CP Gray's video, You Are Two is a great video on the split brain topic. Highly recommend for anyone interested. #NHABD, never had a bad day.
Don't hashtag me, bro. Don't try to make that a thing. Don't try to make me a thing. You know what I mean? $4.99 from Ryanku. Forrest, may I please have some restaurant recommendations when I'm in your town this weekend to see the show? Looking forward to it. Yeah, if you guys are coming to Tulsa to see me, Seth and Erica live in concert on the 7th, I recommend trying F's Hawaiian food. I recommend trying Kilkenny's Irish pub. I recommend trying, if you can find it, there's a food truck called Brothers Just Winging It. They make great wings. And there's another one called Tailor-Made Turkey Legs. They make turkey legs, and then they shred them, and they put them in a bowl, and they cover them in mac and cheese and shrimp and paprika and shit, and it's phenomenal. And it's just a whole wild ride. So try one of those things if you're here in Tulsa. Oh, and if you're into sushi, there's a little hole-in-the-wall sushi place called Memories of Japan. That's pretty chill as well. Tell them I sent you.
I was just about to ask you about that because I love my sushi.
Dude, I'm all about it.
There's an all-you-can-eat sushi place really close to me, and it's like $35 a person, and it's like just, oh man. Look, I'll never consume raw milk. I'll never consume raw meat. Heck, I don't even consume oysters. I don't even consume raw lettuce anymore. I will consume sushi. I don't care if it's hypocritical.
No, because it's frozen and it kills the parasites, right?
Yeah.
And you're supposed to eat it fast while it's prepared. If it's prepared properly, it's fine. And salmon is so delicate, you can cook it with lemon juice or ginger. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. It's fine.
Totally fine. I'm just gonna.
You have stomach acid for a reason, y'all. Eat more sushi. It's fun.
Oh, I don't care how much of a hypocrite I sound about saying that. Better than antibiotic resistance raw milk. So, $20 from One-Eyed Atheist. I'm a third into this book called This Mismeasure of Man, and I am wondering what, if anything, we can tell about a population of any animal from measuring brain size. Also, does the word you should see me trying to pronounce some of these like anatomical terms. Like, have you ever heard of the connective tissue between the radius and the ulna and the tibia and the fibula?
The connective tissue, like
there's specific connective tissue between the actual bones called like
yeah.
I can't pronounce it. I always call it the intersauce because I don't know how to pronounce it.
Hell yeah.
Also, does the word instinct? No idea what that means.
I looked it up, and it's according to Wiktionary, it's a natural or inherent impulse or behavior, an intuitive reaction not based on rational, which sounds like instinct. But then also the AI slop definition says it's the Indonesian word for instinct. Who knows if that's true? It's according to a couple of different online dictionaries here, instinct is just a natural tendency to behave or react in a particular way. Sounds a lot like instinct. Maybe it's just a mispronunciation that has become a word over the years. Who knows? And also the mismeasure of man. I forgot what the question was, but that's by Stephen Jay Gould. I would be very cool with whatever he said about stuff. I'm pretty sure that's the one where Stephen Jay Gould was talking about why phrenology is stupid and why race realism is dumb and it doesn't make any sense. That's the one where we get that quote that creationists like to pull all the time, where they're like, where he said that after Darwin published On the Origin of Species, there was a major rise in scientific racism and in people claiming natural selection backed racism, and they quote that as a reason to say, see, you know, the Darwinists, they're racist. And they don't quote the next sentence, which says, but the data weren't there. There was no actual evidence for this. And when we looked for it, we couldn't find any. And that's why we know this is all horseshit. I think that's that book. I could be wrong. What I do know for sure, however, is that Darth Willow sent $19.99 to say, you do know that one day somebody has to write the Zero-G Kama Sutra, and that will require research. I'm in for it, y'all. Send me to space. Let's do some studies. A lot of
UV radiation, though. It's a little carcinogenic.
Doesn't have to. We're shielding.
Well, maybe by that point we'll have adequate shielding from that.
Have you read about the cool fucking with Mark and Scott Kelly the twin brother astronauts, and like one stayed in space longer than the other, and then they did DNA analysis on them, and they found like major epigenetic changes in one of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
cool shit.
interesting.
Cool shit.
$20 from Intelligent Big. Hi, Forrest. I'm young and running for school board in the great state of Tiny Nipples. As a perpetual student and one who has worked with the school system, got any advice, encouragement, or more for me? Hashtag dumbest person online.
Thank you for the recognition that I am the dumbest person on the line. Also, I could explain to my new guest what this person means by great state of tiny nipples. I'm not gonna. No, it's this really stupid fucking thing that I did for like a year, where I just got a hair up my ass, and every time somebody called in with I would read their state name as an acronym of some other random thing. And so like GA was gigantic anus or whatever. Like I would just make something up on the spot. And at one point, somebody from Tennessee, I said tiny nipples, and my co-host said, I love tiny nipples, and it became like a meme on the channel. It's a whole thing. It's weird. Anyway, I don't know, yo. As a perpetual student and also someone who's worked with the school system, all these things, doesn't really give me great advice on how to run for school board. I would say the biggest thing for me is, especially there in Tennessee, you're going to have a lot of people who believe a lot of bullshit about what schools are doing and the acceptance of LGBT kids and blah, blah, blah. So I would do your best to just be as fucking human as possible and really try to make real connections with people and use the feel, felt, found way of making sure that people feel heard and that you're not just dismissing them. And more than anything, just try to out-person your opposition, because being in Tennessee, you're probably gonna have somebody running against you who is out here pushing the whole litter box conspiracy theory, and you just gotta be more loving than that person. But that's probably not a great advice. I am the dumbest person on the line, so who knows?
You sure about that?
I'm pretty sure.
I sometimes feel like I'm not the. Yeah.
But you're first of all, you're our guest. Second of all, you're the one who brought papers and shit to this discussion. I've been going off of vibes and off the cuff knowledge alone, and I drew a doodle during this. You know, you were out here citing the PMIDs of things. I was doodling.
I have a whole document to help me out with that. So
you do actually have a whole goddamn resource document. She has been in the fucking Discord all week with a resource document full of dozens and dozens of papers about raw milk, seed oils, vaccines, blah, blah, expecting all these. And I was like, girl, you are working too hard. I promise you, even if we do get the calls, you will not have to try. You will not have to worry about this. I guarantee it. But
yeah, you weren't
at the end of the
wrong. The only reason why I did that was because, like, low key, I have like 5 years worth of videos in my notes.
Yeah.
So I was like, I should probably organize this and then delete some of my notes because it's taking up a lot of space. So I thought this was a good opportunity to get my shit together.
Hey. No shade. No shade. Over here working harder than everybody.
Well, we've got $5 from Alice and Dr. Pepper. Diet Dr. Pepper, fire. I want a trans Christmas movie titled It Is a Genderful Life. 1,000% would watch. Hashtag long live the
monad.
The monad. Don't understand the reference, but I'm so sorry.
The monad. We had a one time we were on a long call-in show. We were doing a really long show, and we had the audience donate we raised like fucking $500 or something like that to take one more call as a thing. And the guy who called in was talking about the monad, which has become such a meme on this channel because it means everything. And he kept screaming at us that we can't separate our consciousness from the universe, and therefore we are the universe. And it was a whole thing. It's wild. It's a wild ride here on the line. I hope you host more so you can become a part of the culture of strangeness that we have over here. It's genuinely bizarre.
I'd love to. Plus, it gives me a little bit more confidence than my imposter syndrome having crazy grad student who is still stuck in the valley of despair and probably will be for the rest of her career.
Hey, when you cure your imposter syndrome, call me and tell me how.
Definitely. It's so bad. Like, to the point where, okay, when I first like failed that Western blot I was talking about, I literally wrote up my meeting planner for when I was meeting with my PI about like how this Western blot failed. I'm such a failure. Like I'm not. I just this experiment's not going to go well. This is all the things I did wrong. Then we
Yep.
come together, we meet, we find out it's the antibody.
Yeah. Yep. Flip, dude. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, man. I could go on and on about it, but I keep going to school and keep getting fucking shit, and I'm hoping one day I'm gonna get a piece of paper and I'm gonna know that I'm a real boy. You know what I mean? And until then, I'm just gonna keep being an idiot on the internet. $10 from Mythic Corp. 10 bones for my anemia buddy. Hell yeah. I want to eat that bacon.
$10 from Mobility Sphere Spear. SHPERE.
That's just on purpose.
Yeah, 9741. I wanted to thank everyone at the line for helping me better understand some identity things, allowing me to happily start my transition. In return, grant Forrest more blood. Oh man, I'm gonna need to know some of these like references. I have no idea what's going on.
It's just that I don't have enough blood. I'm very anemic. I need iron infusions to function, and I just started getting them because I've had for years all manner of terrible symptoms, and then I was at an event and I met somebody who just started listing out all of like she had just had some iron infusions and it changed her fucking life, and she was like, yeah, I had this and this and this and this, and she just reads off my fucking rap sheet. And so I tried it, and it was miraculous, and it completely was just I was able to sleep. I didn't have restless leg syndrome anymore. I was able to focus. I was able to like exercise better. I was just in generally better health. I was like gaining muscle mass out of like suddenly like exercising was actually good and like working for me. And then I said stopped again, and now just levels have tanked yet again. And I also had to change my insurance, which means I had to start all the way from goddamn scratch with a new doctor, when I have to have a new blood panel and a new hematologist and a new everything. And so I am now months in again, hopefully to getting another goddamn infusion. So yeah, send your blood to P.O. Box 1810, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, 74013. I'll use it in myself. I'll just crank that in there and I'll be functional again. Thanks.
Oh, that sounds so painful. Oh,
it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant.
That does not sound fun.
There's also, while we're talking about inside jokes, I did a charity stream of a TTRPG called Tales of the Valiant, and we raised like $40,000 for Doctors Without Borders. We were playing this basically D&D kind of game, and there was an inside joke that arose at the table that my character was a vampire. He was not, but it just became this running thing where I was being chastised and made fun of for being a vampire. And now all this shit about me needing blood all the time has led over to this channel in its own way, which means now I've got this Venn diagram of fans of my TTRPG content and then fans of this channel aligning on vampirism as a recurring joke, and I'm gonna fucking strangle somebody. I'm losing it. It's crazy.
You do need more blood to feel normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I do, dude. And I'm a tall, skinny white guy who's pale as all hell. And here we are. You know, just
Dracula. That's all I'm gonna
straight
say.
up. I'm Nosferatu up in here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Day walking all day long. $5 from the biologist bum who said, when I worked in wildlife rehab, I got bitten by a rabid bat. My uncle told me I was stupid for getting the rabies vaccine afterwards. I'm really glad you did.
Me too. I'm really glad you did too. That's a painful way to not be alive.
Yeah.
CA $5. I don't know what the CA means. I'm sorry. I think it's Canadian $5.
Yeah, they're fake Canadian money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Canadian $5 from Unsapien 2009. Hi. Hi.
Oh, hi.
$5 from Mario Bart. Why am I choosing the ones with the most complicated names? Mario
Bartholomew Seaman?
Measy. Bartolomews? I don't want to pronounce your
I
name
think it's
wrong.
Mario
Sorry.
Bartholomew Seaman.
Mario Bartolome Seaman.
Yeah.
Cases like those make me really glad. I was able to get my COVID and flu vaccines this year. Almost didn't get my COVID shot due to HHS's new guidelines. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually used my hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and my like actual diagnosis to force CVS to give me a vaccine because I just not dealing with it.
I use my anemia. I was like, I'm not fucking with that shit. Absolutely not. Like, seriously, they don't, y'all, I'm not saying that, like, lying to a doctor is cool, but, like, they're not gonna check. If you go to CVS or Walgreens and tell them, yeah, I have this symptom, I need to get a vaccine, no one's checking. Get fucking vaccinated. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's just, ugh. $10 from William Matz. 10 minutes of Forrest wig shenanigans, please. I don't even have any wigs nearby. I still have this thing laying around. We'll take calls with this.
That's a fun. Is that an alien?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Just this mascot head I got at a garage sale a little while ago.
I would grab my cat, but right now she smells like crap because she just got an enema.
That's a hell of a sentence, dude. That's a wild. There's a lot of lore to dump on us all at once there.
My cat, it's okay. My cat has half a brain. She is, what was it, cerebral hypoplasia, and so she has trouble connecting with her colon.
Fuck, man. All right.
She's very cute. She's just a little bit, she's a little
stinky.
stinky right now, yes. 9.99 from Greedy Paul 6343. Please, for the love of glob, teach the plebs that COVID is real. I'm stuck at home because a coworker that actually took ivermectin came to work with COVID. Hashtag the apostate Paul lives. Why do people think an anti-parasitic is going to cure a virus? Why?
Because Donald Trump told them to, and they're in a goddamn cult, Ella.
He doesn't know how to pronounce acetaminophen.
No, he doesn't.
He even understands how to I don't even think he knows how to pronounce ivermectin, to be totally real with you. I think that he just read off of a how to pronounce it from like Google or something.
They don't think, though, is the problem. It's not that they think he understands, they just don't think. He tells them a thing, and then they just believe the thing because they're in a fucking cult. $10 from Nico Teardrop. I have a central sensation, central sensitization syndrome. Any signal from my peripheral nervous system can be interpreted as crippling pain that I cannot get tolerant to, but it's definitionally all in my head. That sounds fucking rough. Yo. Sorry to hear about that.
That reminds me of that other disorder that's like considered like the most painful one alive, where it's like you're just in constant like 8 out of 10 pain for the rest of your life. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like supposedly very rare.
Yeah. That sounds ugh.
$9.99.
What is this with the wig content?
$9.99 from Darth Willow again. We've seen you in a pink wig, Forrest.
Yeah, you certainly have. I've worn wigs on this channel. I'm like fucking Elijah Wood up in here with my wigs, but like I don't wear them all the time. This is a long time ago that I was wearing wigs as a part of a stream. I can go try to find one. I think I have one laying around in the other room. You read this, and I'll be right back. I don't know what this person is saying. So there's the answer.
$10 from Lovey Livy Suffering 1003. Forrest, have you heard of the music artist Camide? They've made multiple cute atmospheric albums based off of things like bugs and Cambrian creatures. Ooh, I'd be interested. I'm going to take a screenshot of that artist name, and then I'm going to look it up. I love listening to music when I'm like going to the gym and sometimes studying. I don't know.
Box of wigs.
I have no idea how to press next, if there is a next button.
Oh no, it's our producer who would be doing that for us.
Got it.
I got this one. They're all in a fucking they're all tangled up in this box.
Oh my.
I got this one. I got this one.
Oh,
This one looks like I scalped a Fraggle.
I like
know?
it though. It looks pretty. It looks like a rainbow macaw. Five
It's like a
dollars
wolf cut
from
situation.
Joshua Everett 9887. Please have Snitch back often. Every time I have seen her on Alive, I end up with 5 to 15 new studies to read. Tell Jimmy we need a Friday or stat show. I'm
Saturday
so
show,
bad at
yeah.
pronouncing things.
Vote in the comments. I don't know if Lux, you can put a poll up, or first person to send in a $20 super chat. Rainbow Fraggle, Pink Gradient, or Hot Spankin' Pink, and I'll pop one of those on for a time. Maybe not the remainder of the show, but some time.
What was the first one?
Fraggle, Rainbow Fraggle.
Okay,
What's
it's in the
Fraggle?
chat now.
Hell yeah.
Gradient.
What's a Fraggle?
Yeah, what's a Fraggle?
I'll show you. Yip-up-up. These guys.
Oh,
Fraggles.
yes, definitely Fraggle.
Yeah. That's that style for sure is Fraggle all day long. $10. See, this person is so conscious they're wearing a mask even in the PFP to make sure that we don't get something through the internet. From Gertrude Schmidt. After 10 years, I've given up on trying to talk to my parents out of their anti-vax, transphobic, and general anti-science views. So rather than advice on that, give me your best facts about bats or hyenas. You got a good bat or hyena fact?
I just really think that fruit bats are cute. I don't really have fun facts about bats or hyenas. I just love fruit bats.
Hell yeah.
They're like little.
Bats are awesome. They are pollinators a lot of the times. You can actually you can tell what kind of things pollinate certain flowers by what flowers look like. So like ones that are kind of like flat and broad, usually pollinated by insects, whereas like more tube-like ones, especially ones that are red in color, are more going to be bird pollinated because that's a color birds can see really good. And brightly colored, especially white flowers that do bloom at night, going to be bat pollinated a lot of the times. And they're great. Also, hyenas, female hyenas have a fully erectile pseudopenis. That's a fun time. And male hyenas become aroused through fear. The more cortisol, the more stress hormones in their blood as they're getting bullied, the more aroused they become. They love dommy mommies. $5 from Totally Real Cat Girl. Bong rip theology is goated. Nobody's ever disowned their child because they were an affront to the ganja. I mean, flip, dude. Who knows? Maybe there's some really, really hardcore guy twisting up Mad L's and beating his children for not being stoned enough. Who knows?
1999. Bro is making purchases at the 99 as if it's like that sale. Like like whenever you're making sales and it's like 1999.
Yeah.
1999.
Couldn't afford the one last penny, could you, Darth?
I'm not sure if that's just how YouTube works. I always find it really funny whenever I see
I blame them.
99. I have 100 trillion copies of my DNA, and I fear one will get loose to cause incursions and multi-universal wars. This is my response to Bran.
And she's not wrong.
No, she's not.
She's not wrong.
She's
I'm
not
pretty
wrong
sure
at all.
the 99-cent ones come through mobile, and the 00 ones come through the desktop.
I had no clue.
Buy a computer with that 1 penny that you didn't spend.
As I said, I genuinely suck at technology, so I didn't know. D6 from Corey Springer. Blank.
They just wanted to show us their cat. $5 from Jessica J. I just signed up as a subscriber because I'm dying to know more about the omega-3, omega-6 ratio controversy. Has chronometer led me astray? Is chronometer with the capitalized? I'm guessing this is a person. Hashtag nipples hard, ass big, dicks. Good hashtag.
Yeah. I just wanted to say the chronometer actually does promote a pretty high omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. most fitness influencers promote a very low omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. So if anything, chronometer's leading you the correct way, not astray.
All right.
Yes. $10 from Marie. I'm so bad at pronouncing names.
Muriloxes. This fucking guy sent $10.
$10. Brand claimed the infinity of real numbers is greater than the infinity of numbers between 0 and 1, but these are the same. The function tan pi x minus 1 over 2 gives the bijection between 0 and 1 and all numbers. I hate math, so I'm so sorry. Cool.
You heard it here first, folks. That. Radical. Hell yeah.
That's an amazing sound effect.
I wish I could hear it. Since we switched over to this thing, I no longer get to hear my own fucking bullshit. $5 from B Lonks F4S. Any thoughts on RFK pushing the hidden Hep B vaccine study that showed a fucking 1,200% increase in autism rates? It's cherry-picked data from something else. I wouldn't be surprised any more than I would be surprised if they start using that dumb fucking study that they changed the definition of mass shooting so that there were only 10 mass shooters in the past 50 years, and like half of them were trans. And now they're saying over half of mass shooters have been trans people because of that one dumbass study. So, like, wouldn't be surprised.
Or that one study where they basically took a bunch of people from the morgue who were not confirmed to have gotten the COVID vaccine and then claimed it was all the COVID vaccine.
You see that's literally just the fucking the Twitter fucking analysis where X celebrity dies and they're like, oh, he was probably vaccinated. It's like, he was also 80 and was hit by a car. Whatever. He's probably the vaccine though. Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, did you see that one TikTok video of this one girl who's claiming that Eric Dane passed away because of the COVID-19 vaccine, not because of ALS? It was redonkulous.
Oh my god.
I was like, you don't do that with ALS, dude. They're already suffering. Why you gotta make it
right?
Gotta make it even worse.
So stupid.
It's so bad.
$5 monarchy dollars from Harder Gamer. The Big Bang proves there must be a God as Trump keeps BBJFK Jr. I know it doesn't make sense, but I'm on strong pain meds. Have a great night. Have a great night.
Damn. $5 from Coffee Mom. The chicken pox vax came out too late to protect me, but I got both Gardasil, HPV. I just hope that I can get the shingles vax before it's too late. I saw this comment earlier. There's a shingles vax? I had no clue.
Hell yeah. Everybody go get your shingles vaccine if you haven't already. Looks like I'm looking at the poll here, and we're 54% of the votes are on this Fraggle wig. So I'm going to throw this thing on for just a minute. For the people demand it. Hey, everybody, if I put on this wig, then you have to go use the link that I'm about to drop. Hold on a second. I'm going to do this thing. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Wait. Here. Use this link there and donate something to the National Immigration Law Center. That's the cost of me putting this wig on. We already agreed. Yeah. We already agreed. And if you didn't agree to it, yes, you did.
Damn. $7.99 from Darren McAuliffe. Did I pronounce it right? Hopefully I did.
Probably.
I thought McAuliffe as like cauliflower. By definition, alternative medicine has not been shown to work or has not been shown to work or has been shown not to work. So actually, this isn't entirely true. There was a study that was done on some cancer patients who either opted out of traditional conventional cancer treatment and chose quote unquote alternative medicine versus cancer patients who just chose to go with conventional medicine. And those who opted out of conventional medicine had up to like a 5-fold increased risk of mortality. If like if you do have any more contentions about that, feel free to like comment or something, and I can maybe make a video on it. But like that's yeah, no, alternative medicine has not been shown to be like good.
Like I say, if alternative medicine worked, it would just be called medicine. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. Everybody go donate to this. This is the thing. Because no, seriously, fuck ICE. And I just wanted to raise like an extra 1,000 or something like that. This is all a part, by the way, Creators for Peace, massive collaboration of a ton of different creators of all different sizes. And we've already raised over like $300,000 collectively. So it'd be nice to throw in a little extra here. And by the way, look at one of the biggest donors. This asshole right here, who donated with a comment saying that birds aren't dinosaurs. So donate more than Jovan Bradley, please, and help us say fuck ICE and stick up for our immigrant communities. I wouldn't be here without immigration. So if you like my content, again, why? But also make sure that you donate. Dance your cares away. Worries for another day. Let the music play. Down on Fraggle Rock. I am not. My dad was. He came here when he was in his early 20s. He never naturalized. Kept his green card his whole life. I'm a dual citizen because of it. And if he was alive in this time, the only reason that he would not be rounded up by ICE right now is because he was white. So, like, fuck this administration. Fuck ICE. And if you agree, please use that link. I'm going to put it in the chat again. And hey, Kalasia just did as well. Thank you very much. Use that link and please go throw in a few bucks. I'd really appreciate it. I'll shout you out if you do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a dual citizen too.
Hell yeah. From where?
Italy.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Mine's from Austria.
Cool. Next door neighbors. $10 from Godfrey and Good. Forrest, I've heard you talk down on polygraph, so I was wondering
do it again.
What you think about agencies such as NSA still using them on employees. Aloha. I hate.
Yeah, so I do talk down on polygraphs. What were you saying?
I hate they use polygraph. It's so inaccurate.
It's really stupid. I think it's just a hazing thing at this point, you know? Like, for just a kind of going with emotions and making you feel uncomfortable, and then you feel like a real whatever spy thing. Yeah, polygraphs are terribly inaccurate. They do not measure whether you're lying. They measure whether or not you're nervous. They measure things like blood spiking and heart rate and you know, sweatiness and all these different things. And they have been not only shown to not work because sociopaths who are really comfortable lying and very calm under pressure pass them all the time and lie. Innocent people fail them all the time telling the truth because they're just so worked up, or because an agent will say things like, I'm about to ask you a very serious question. Did you ever rob a bank in your life? And the saying it's a serious question spikes their blood pressure, and it sets the fucking polygraph off, and it doesn't matter what they say next. Also, here's a fun fact. You can actually trick a polygraph test by just clenching and unclenching your anus over and over, because it mimics those blood pressure spikes, and it makes you this pattern that the polygraph test can't read. And another fun fact, I know you're doing that right now.
That's crazy, dude. Oh god.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, I hate the polygraph test. I'm a naturally anxious person, so if anyone were to give me like a polygraph test, I'd just fail at the first question when they ask me what my name is.
Yeah, it happens all the time. We've already got a ton of great donations, by the way. Thank you so much to Melatonin Ale. Thank you so much to Melanie. Thank you so much to Shadow Hunting. Thank you so much to Bridget. Thank you so much to Jay. Thank you so much to Anonymous. Thank you so much to Danny Volving. Thank you so much to Sassy Lass. Thank you so much to Non-Crazy Cat Lady. And I think those are all the newest ones. Thank you so much for donating. We're already up over $100 from where I showed it last time. Please keep using that link. It would be really great. If I caught you clenching your anus, go donate $5 right now.
Damn. $5 from Harder Gamer. Did you hear about the paper leak from China about a man made SARS-CoV-2 with a 100% death rate? You can find the paper online and some YouTube videos on it. I'll read up and try to find this paper. A man made COVID-2 with a 100% death rate.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I will say also next week, we're doing this thing, raising this money. Next week or this week, I guess, at some point, Jimmy, Jovan, and I are gonna try to do a stream together, the three of us, to raise money for this. And Jimmy and I have been talking about the stupidest ways that we can make ourselves uncomfortable, and make it, because we all three of us want the mic all the time, and all three of us want to talk all the time, and all three of us are very long-winded. And so, like, making it a thing where, like, we are in a situation where we can't talk, always good. Golden mic game, always good. $5 from Stomp10. What should we know about the safety of aspartame and seed oils? Great show, friends. We talked about this a little bit, but if you have anything else to add, I'd love to hear it.
I would just say that aspartame has not been shown to cause cancer or is strongly associated with cancer, or increased cancer risk. It does not appear to have a negative impact on your gut microbiome based off of the data that we do have. And artificially sweetened beverages have been shown to be more effective than water for promoting weight loss in individuals. So I would say that as long as you're not over consuming aspartame by like 18 cans, by which you would probably overdose on caffeine or water first, you'll be probably fine. And then seed oils, essential fatty acids, you're fine.
$5 from Malaya Shauna Silverbose. Forrest, you're smelly. You don't know anything about me. You asked for insults. I did, though. ScientificSnitch, I'm definitely going to check you out on TikTok now. Do it. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. $10 from Green Man Dave. Did I hear Umish mentioned earlier? Who says Umish and not U of M? How can we be sure you're not just three Buckeyes in a trench? Go blue. Because I never went to a single football game when I was going to school there, and I never learned how to actually pronounce it because I was holed up as an undergrad and very overworking myself, which was not good. So $5. Ooh.
Thank you to Olivia. Thank you to Braxton. Thank you to Yuru. Thank you to June. Thank you to Piriform. Thank you to Harder Gamer. Thank you to Anonymous. Thank you to YouTuber Grudge. Thank you to I can't see fast this fucking wig, dude. Vernon Dale and see something, and then it's run. Oh fuck! I can scroll it. Hold on. Thank you to Sasha. Thank you to Green Man Dave. Thank you to Zereth Moonpaw. Thank you to Melatonin Ale. Thank you to Melanie. Thank you to Shadow Hunting. And I think that's the end of it. Let's turn that on, and that brings us to, as of right now, we started with like a little over $600. We're now over $1,500, $1,579.70 to say fuck ICE. Thank you all so very much. Your contributions don't stop. Keep doing it, because ICE are dickbags, Nazi, Gestapo, jackboot thugs, undertrained fucking pedophile protectors out here terrorizing neighborhoods and ripping families apart because a senile billionaire pedo told them to. Fuck them, and fuck everyone who supports them, and fuck everything they stand for. It's a shame there isn't a hell for them to burn in.
You know, something is just so amazing hearing you say all of that in that amazing wig.
Hell yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. Perfect. $5 from William Matz. Your Pokemon team is weak and wouldn't beat them. Wouldn't beat Team Rocket, and hashtag insulting Forrest is fun.
You don't know shit. Fucking let me tell you something. I didn't know it was about me. Let me tell you something, you son of a bitch. Fucking, I've got a Blastoise named Abe Lincoln that'll fuck you up. Fuck ICE.
Yes. Fuck ICE.
I've got a Diglett named Archimedes that'll fucking burn your house down. Or turn it upside down with his fucking dig ability. You don't know anything about me. Look at this fucking, look at the drama. You know what I mean?
Oh, it looks
look at the attitude of the wig.
It's amazing.
The sass of it all.
It's so sassy. $5 from Raiko Zunakin. Forrest, did you ever manage to get out of that ear?
I mean, I'm here. At the end of the day, I survived. I must change the wigs. I survived the ear, but barely. Barely escaped. They're referring to my most recent video where I was trapped inside of an ear. It's a whole thing.
Oh man. Oh man.
If you don't watch my YouTube channel, good for you.
No, I do watch your YouTube channel. I just have been.
You shouldn't.
chronically sleep. I told you, I actually derived a lot of inspiration from your YouTube channel when I was first making content.
God, do better. Do better than this. $5 from Gertrude Schmidt. I'm a blacksmith and I want to forge a hammer with some of my own iron. How much blood would I need to cook in order to accumulate 1 ounce of iron? That's a fun question. I don't
That's
know.
a lot.
You've got 4 iron atoms per hemoglobin. Am I doing that right? Or am I doing it? Because there's...
Yeah, but you also have immune cells too, and the electron transport chain contains a lot of iron too.
Oh, fuck me, you're right. Ugh! Y'all,
That's a lot.
get on my level. $5 from William Matz. Forrest asks for blood on air. Chat, vampire joke. Forrest, hey, quit it. Me thinks he doth protest too much. Me think you doth sent me blood enough. It is
Now you look
100%
like a
of this is in my
vampire.
mouth.
You 100%
I look
look like a vampire now.
cool as hell is what you mean.
You look like a drippy vampire.
A drippy vampire.
Yes. $5 from Brand Muffin 411. How is Babby formed? How girl prang?
Get
Prang?
pregnant.
Good lord, bro.
Pregananant.
English did not English today.
Have you seen that video?
No,
it's
it's not.
all of the it's like rounding up all the times on like Quora people ask about pregnancy and nobody can fucking spell. Let me see if I can find it.
He also has a great one about the word Ouija board.
Yes. How is Pargent formed? That's the one. I'm putting it in the chat right now. There you go. How is Prangent formed? Fucking 51 million views on that video.
Oh my god. Hegnan, that's crazy, dude.
And here's an even better thing to look at. There you go. That's in the chat now too.
$5.
Yeah, you read it.
$5 from Bramley CX. One upside of chronic illness is that I get all the COVID vaccines. I guess the downside is, well, the illness. Yep, pretty much.
Yes. All right, everything's fine.
You good?
Nothing's broken. Everything's fine. Nobody's hurt.
Okay. $5 from Mobility Sphere. I truly didn't realize my username was typed wrong last time, so thanks for that too. Send the man more iron. Bro's gonna get so much iron, he's gonna turn into Iron Man at this point, at this rate.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Tony Stark.
Got a
for life.
tricorn hat out of the closet over there.
You want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. 523 from Jesse Clark 83. Just showing my support for Ella. Also, Insting is also the 4th largest selling brand of artificial fireplace log in Guam. Who could have possibly known that besides Jesse Clark? Thank you so much for tuning in.
$5.
I'm a pirate, but like with this now.
Yeah.
Sam T. Mayberry. We had a co-host. We had a host who has ALS. His name is Dave Warnock. Yeah, really nice guy.
Man, ALS is on my list of diseases that I have nightmares about. I have a few different ones. Yeah.
I super don't want it. Oh, this is killing me.
$4.99 from Nicole Quebler. I'm more autistic than you think I am. # we need more scientific snitch. Okay.
Agreed on both counts.
I will say this. When I said I had a linguistic disorder, it's separate from autism, so people get it mixed up. And then I feel really bad because I don't. Okay, $9.99 from Outwitted by Fish. Given that God is infinite and the universe is also infinite, would you like a toasted tea cake? Talkie toaster.
Yes.
That's pretty much what it felt like. It sounded like that one.
So you don't. you don't want to like sound like you're disparaging autistic people, but you don't want to be lumped in where you don't belong, because then that's taken away from them as well, and it's like weird. Yeah. No, I get that. I get that all the time. People, constantly people talk about like autism or ADHD with me. Couldn't imagine why. But I've never actually been formally diagnosed, and so I just don't say that shit out loud because I don't know. There have been several times where I have said, I don't know if I have this, and people have actually interrupted me to say, you absolutely fucking do. Continue with whatever you're saying, but like, just know, yeah. But like, hey, I'm not gonna say that shit online until I get an actual diagnosis, and I'm certainly not gonna try to lump my in with people, lump myself in with people that I don't belong to. Just it doesn't seem right. God, these are so tangled. I kept them in a box. I kept them in a box, y'all. They're just a tangled mess now, and it's 100% of this in my mouth. It's awful.
$10 from Shadow Huntin'. Birds can't be dinosaurs because birds aren't real. That's true. Birds are dinosaurs.
It's true. It's true, though. $5 from Catfish. My cat also has cerebral hyperplasia. She is gray, and her name is Chaos.
That's so perfect. Yeah, my cat's named Mochi, and whenever she like runs around, so she'll go to the bathroom and then she'll sprint around the room, and then she'll run into a wall because she doesn't know how to control herself. She'll hit herself, then she'll roll over on her belly, and then she'll just like sit there on her belly. It's really cute.
Mochi is an objectively good name for a cat, by the way.
So I named her after like black sesame mochi, if you've ever had it.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah. She's just a big fluffy black fur cat. Very cute. $5 from Green Garbador. Thank you, Forrest, for your talks this weekend. Sadly, I only got to attend one. Hope you enjoyed St. Louis.
I hope you got to attend the one where the tech worked, because I did 2 talks this weekend. One of the, and it wasn't anybody's fault. I'm not mad about this. I was at the Ethical Society of St. Louis. Amazing place, by the way. And I did 2 talks. And during the first one, we did tech checks, set everything up, and then for some fucking reason, the sound broke. And so after like 30 minutes of vamping while we tried to get it fixed, I ended up just having to like have my microphone next to my laptop to try to catch whatever sound we could play over the speakers. And the people there who ran the event and who attended the event were incredibly kind and incredibly cool and super nice. But holy shit, that sucked. It was just so awkward and to get through. The people made it worth it. The people made it cool. But the next one worked really well. So I hope you got to see that one that was just his normal style. Really quick, before we move on to the end of the show, because I know that Lux wants to get out of here. Fuck you, Lux. We're staying for a little bit longer, because I want to tell everybody about this one more time. That's wrong. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. This thing one more time. We have now raised, looks like, $1,600. Thank you guys so much. We have that's almost exactly $1,000 more than we started with in just a few minutes of like dicking around. So thanks so much, Kate Space, Dirty Deason, Cade Moore, Nico Teardrop, Olivia Braxton, Yuru, June, Piriform. I don't actually know where we're stopping here. Harder Gamer, Anonymous, YouTuber Grudge, this whole fuck you, Sasha, Green Man. I think that's things we've already talked about, but thank you to all of you so much for helping out with this. I really do appreciate it, and I know that the families of the immigrants who are currently being unlawfully detained appreciate it a whole lot more. With that, Ella, do you have anything that you want to end the show with? Any words of wisdom? Anything that you want to shout out?
Let's see. I don't know if I want to go with a niche STEM joke or a wholesome ending. I don't know what I'm
We love both of those things here, so it's your choice.
All right. First one is if you think the citric acid cycle is bad to memorize, you should try the Calvin cycle. And the second one is don't take too many things with so much seriousness. I feel like a lot of people online make health, wellness, and vaccines so much more serious than it actually is, in the sense that they make it out to be this big, scary thing that is like funded by evil big man. A lot of the scientists just want to talk about the research.
Yeah.
a lot of people could probably relate to that if you are in research or STEM or medicine. Like, we're not evil money bag carrying people like some of the billionaires that are out there right now.
For real.
I
I'm
missed a super
also
chat.
gonna. Oh shit! 5 pounds from Barbara Barrett. I was chromosome tested and told my transition would be fast tracked if I was intersex because I'd have a biological imperative. BS, right? That's so weird. That's such a weird thing to say.
That's so weird.
I also have a niche STEM joke that I was waiting to unleash on Erica because she fucking hates puns, but I'll tell it to you really quick while we're here. There's a king in ancient medieval land who goes hunting in Africa, and he kills a lion and an elephant and a hippopotamus, and he skins them and takes their hides back to Kingdom Land. And he has these 3 squires. They're like really loyal squires, and so he gives them these hides, and they are now known like the squires of the hides. And like one is like the elephant squire and the hippopotamus squire and the lion squire, right? And years pass, and these people grow in wealth and fame and prosperity, and they have lots of children and all these things. And the lion squire and the elephant squire get jealous of the hippopotamus squire, and they decide they want that hippopotamus hide. And so at this point, they're all old men, right? And so the lion squire has like 4 sons, and the elephant squire has like 10 sons or whatever the fuck. And they send their sons out to kill the hippopotamus squire. And the hippopotamus squire, without any of his children, single-handedly matches all of them in combat and defends himself. And on that day, it was shown that the squire of the hippopotamus is equal to the sons of the squires of the other 2 hides. Very proud of that, and I cannot wait to see so many other hosts' face when I say it. If you liked that joke, or you hated that, if you liked that joke, go donate to my fundraiser, and if you hated that joke, donate twice.
I'm still trying to process everything you just said. One moment.
Yeah.
I feel like I need
weird,
to see this written. I feel like I need to see this written out. I'm like not comprehending it.
The squire of the hippopotamus was equal to the sons of the squires of the other 2 hides. The square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sums of the squares of the other 2 sides. It's a Pythagoras joke.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude.
You low-key said that to like the one person. So so when I first got into the lab, somebody was like, "Yeah, Ella, you actually are pretty good at like just being able to follow protocols. You're good at like understanding this sort of stuff. Ever thought about becoming a scientist?" And I go, "No, I'm really bad at math." And they go, "Math? What math?" And I'm just like, what do you mean there's no math? I was told my entire life that you need to know like fucking calculus 2 to be a scientist. And they're like, oh no, we just Google that.
Yes, for real. Like
So
learning, like becoming a scientist, you are learning how to learn shit. You are learning the basics of the field so that you know what to look up later. Like nobody's gonna care if you have to go fact check shit. And like if you outsource things to make sure that people get it, that's better. I'm just saying. Yeah. Anyway, we're going on, but this has been a great show. I seriously appreciate you hanging out. Thank you so much for being here. It was a lot of fun. I hope to have you back sometime. Thank you so much. Thank you to Ella for co-hosting and being amazing. Thank you to Lux for producing and being amazing. Thank you to Stephanie for call screening and being amazing. Thank you to our mods in chat for keeping things simple and safe. Thank you to the people in chat, even the ones that suck. Thank you to the callers, even the ones that suck. Have an awesome rest of your day. Fuck eyes, free Palestine, never stop learning. Bye!